All right, we're going to call this workshop to order. Today is Monday, July 13th, 2026. It is 1 p.m. I'd like to call the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners workshop. Please stand and join us for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, we'd like to take a moment of silence to pray and reflect on the men and women who are serving us here and abroad. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody today. We're going to go ahead and get started first. This is a presentation, I believe, with Human Resources regarding our county administrator applicant list. Good morning, sir.
You're up, Charlie. Perfect.
Why do they keep printing this?
I'll work down there.
Somebody go in the bathroom.
All right. So my name is Charlie Bacano. I'm the HR director for the county. Today we're going to be doing an update on our county administrator search. Is something positive. I'm excited to talk about. Just a quick timeline for today. We're going to review the original timeline that was provided by FACM when we were first brought them in, the applicant numbers. Then we'll review FACM's presentation of the shortlist. Michelle Lieberman is here from Alachua County to provide you the details on the shortlist. And then the next steps, we'll talk about like where do we go from here once we have our shortlist created and what are the next steps on our side. So we had 118 applicants. Of those, 30 of them met the minimum qualifications. And when you look back at our timeline, we stayed on track with our job posting for 2 months. We delivered the applications to FACM for review. They have now reviewed all those applications and have created a short list to be presented to you guys today. So that's what brings us here today, is to talk about the short list presented by them. If you remember, Mr. Arnold was here on 5/4. He kind of walked through this process, and we're just in line with the timeline. So that's what we're here to do today. Next up, I'll bring up Michelle to talk about the short list. I'd love you if you can pull that up, please. So you guys all have a copy of this, and then you have a copy of the 5 people in Tier 1 on your desk. If you guys want to talk about any of the other applicants or someone you may have liked, obviously this is an open process, and you're allowed to share your opinions on who you want, and you're making this list together. So if you want to discuss any of those people and you want to pull their application, Lovey can pull it up and put it on the screen to review qualifications if you want to talk through them. So just whatever you need, we have access to. All right.
I can pull this down. I'm a little bit shorter than you, Charlie. Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Lieberman, and I'm the Alachua County Manager. I'm also the chair of the committee with the Florida Association of County Managers. I sit on the County Managers Board. Along with me on this committee was Bradley Arnold, who you met previously. He's been the Sumter County Administrator since 2006. And also Taco Pope, who has been the Nassau County Manager since 2020, and I have been with Alachua County since 2014, the first few years as County Attorney and County Manager since 2017. So we have quite a bit of experience between the 3 of us in reviewing these. And let me say how lucky you all are. I've done many of these in my last 8.5, almost 9 years as on the County Manager's Board. And the number of applicants that you have to choose from is a lot. We were very pleased with the number of applicants. Having 30 that met the minimums was an amazing number, which is why we ultimately went with a Tier 1 and a Tier 2. So if you would like more to vet, through your HR department, as that's the next part of your process, is to further vet those, then you have those options as well. Of course, this is really our preliminary screening recommendations. Based on the candidate availability, you did have one that is no longer available, and that's noted on your list. He has since taken a job, I believe it's Jackson County. They are advisory tiers and do not limit your discretion to advance any applicant that has met the minimums. So with that, I will go through the names, and if you notice, they are in alphabetical order. We put them in alphabetical order in each tier. I can highlight a few of the bullet points of what we found in those applicants if you'd like on each one. Okay. Sean Boatwright is in Tier 1. He has both Assistant County Manager and County Management experience in rapid growth counties. Southeast Georgia, this coastal experience there, familiar with the Northeast Florida, Southeast Georgia region. He's got capital project and emergency preparedness experience. He has an MPA, ICMA certification, certified public management, broad experience in municipal management. Stanley Hawthorne is the next. Mr. Hawthorne has, again, broad experience in municipal government, particular relevance in Florida. He was in Lakeland as Assistant County Manager at one point, and Fort Lauderdale, Assistant County Manager. Also has a lot of finance, has a strong finance foundation, and we found his references also to be quite strong references. Mr. Jackson, strong foundation again in budget, fiscal, performance measurement, project management background. Mr. Jackson has a strong public works background. He's worked as Deputy County Administrator for Okeechobee, Town Manager for Lake Park, Village Manager, and CRA Director in Palm Springs. So there's Assistant City Manager in Delray Beach, so quite a bit of management experience. I'm going to flip pages here because my lines are overlapping. Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed has a lot of Florida local government experience, and he is currently the deputy, including current Deputy County Administrator experience, prior city experience. His application shows him currently as Deputy County Administrator for Okeechobee County with oversight across a wide range of county functions, including human resources, economic development, IT, finance, budget, fire rescue, emergency management. Also, as I said, Lake Park Village Manager, CRA Executive Director, so experience there. And then we have Joseph Sinnott. He has an interesting breadth of experience, which we found to be very positive. He is an attorney, so he does have that legal experience. He also has county administration experience, city administration experience, and he also was also an elected official at one time. So quite a bit of broad background, kind of from A to Z in the local government realm. And lastly, in Tier 1, we have, oh, did I miss one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was the fifth one. I apologize. Moving on to Tier 2. Tier 2, I don't want to stress, is not a negative category. You had, again, so many candidates that these candidates had meaningful experience and could be considered further if you want that broader pool. It's not in our comparative review that they were not qualified. The Tier 1 candidates we felt were more closely matched to what we believed you all were looking for in your next candidate.
I have a question on Mr. Sinnott. He is unemployed now. Looks like he worked for it to January 26th.
I've got to look at his application really quickly. So Mr. Sinnott lists his last employment ended January of 2026 with Erie County,
So he's unemployed right now?
at least based on his application.
Right.
I,
Okay, thanks.
if he's updated anything since then, since he's put this in, I'm not aware.
It's wondering how this mic works. I'm just wondering if any of our candidates on the Tier 1 are present at this meeting. Do we know of that? Or can you answer that? Or can you not answer?
I would not be aware.
Okay, you're not aware. Okay.
Yes.
I just didn't know if they were here or not, and I don't know who they are or anything, but I just was wondering.
Yes, and for the ones particularly that are out of state, I probably would not recognize the ones that are from the state or have worked recently in the state. I would be more apt to recognize.
Okay, thank you.
With regard to the Tier 2 applicants, there are 4 of those. Ms. Decker is, again, a strong secondary review candidate. She's got Florida local government experience in development services, building, planning, zoning, permitting. She spent 14 years at the city of Doral as their development services director. Thomas Huka, if I'm saying that correctly. Florida County Public Works experience for Broward County. He's been there for many, many years in Broward County. He's a PE professional engineer, as well as certified public manager program background and Harvard education, MPA. Prior to his many years in Broward, he does have experience in management at the management level, even though he's been with Broward County at the Public Works Director level for a considerable period of time. Tamika Miles has, her experience is currently San Antonio, but she also has DC experience, so she's got a lot of fiscal operations and budget policy background, very strong in the financial side. It is a very large government, so she has familiarity with working in a much larger government. Some of the municipalities, when they're smaller, don't always necessarily translate to a county, particularly the smaller ones. But larger cities, a lot of times do have a lot of shared things with county government or shared experiences. And then we have Tracy Miller, Florida experience, again, assistant county manager in Oldsmar and Bartow, IT background, a strong strategic planning background as well, and has been manager of strategy development services. So those are the 9 total, 5 in Tier 1 and 4 in Tier 2.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys have a couple of questions. Anything, Mr. Dance, so far?
No, not right now.
Okay.
Just for the record, I either have an old list or I never received Richard Reedy and Thomas Hutka. As early as this morning, I was trying to retrieve copies. If, in fact, a candidate, and I'll use one for demonstration purposes, Tamika Miles was very high on my list until I looked at her salary range. Did they not receive the information on what our salary range is, and why would they go beyond the salary range?
I can't say specifically why somebody might go above the salary range, but I would have to presume that all of these folks would be willing to negotiate if they are continuing to be on the list. I mean, we had some people who frankly put nothing as
My
their...
next question. So
Yeah,
why
some
would
people
somebody-
put nothing because they're, again, open to negotiation. I can only speculate why they've put one that's higher than what you are offering, but you did put in your posting the range.
And I did have Tracy Miller much further up on my list than she is on your list. I got 4 out of your 5, so I'm okay. I just had the question about the salary. I took her off my list because of that. And, yeah, I don't think that Mr. Sinat's experience is what I'm looking for, but we can all discuss that. We seem to get pretty strong showing from Georgia as far as applicants. Is that common in Florida? Is that?
I wouldn't say it's uncommon. Mr. Arnold himself came from Georgia before he came to Sumter County. So, you know, out of the region,
Okay.
the south region of Georgia.
Thank you.
And, you know, now, one thing I could potentially suggest on the salary too, if there were ones that you were concerned because of the salary, that is always something through HR as they reach out, they can say, you know, listen, you're on the short list. We don't need to go any further if you're not interested in negotiating a salary within our range. And then, you know, that would save your human resources some time. But if you were still interested in that person because of their qualifications, you could always further review that.
Questions, Ms. Richardson or Mr. Hanson? Does anyone have anyone else from the list that they'd like to discuss further? Actually, there were 2 that I had seen that stood out, and one was Mr. Hutka from Broward, Thomas Hutka. The other one was actually Aaron Van Cleek from Volusia County. I get a little nervous sometimes seeing people that have no experience in Florida, just because Florida, you know, we want somebody that's up on the current up to minute on the laws. So I had looked at those 2. Any thoughts about it?
I had Aaron Van Cleek as a star as well.
And you didn't get to see Mr. Hutka. Mr. Hutka,
I did not,
If I
and I
recall, he
also
had
did
a
not get to
MPA
see
from
Colin
Harvard,
Donnelly. I
civil
don't know
engineer
why I
from
missed three.
Princeton,
Wait, one of you.
had been Mr. Hutka, an MPA from Harvard, a civil engineer, I believe, from Princeton, and he had been, I believe, a county administrator of Minneapolis, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, that's Aaron Van Cleek. So this is Aaron Van Cleek. He's been with Volusia County for 20-plus years. He's currently the director of their emergency services, right? But we have him on the, manages 525 people, a very large budget. Emergency service director includes fire. And then previously he was the deputy finance director for Volusia County for 4 years. So he's been with Volusia. And I think prior to that, if you want to keep going, keep going down. I think he, at some point when he started, he actually ran their special projects. He's been with them a very long time. And then I think he ran Road and Bridge for them, right? Yeah. He's ran everything in Volusia County. He's been with them for a very long time. Yeah, Road and Bridge, emergency, park and rec. He's also, I forget what his degree is, but yeah. I don't know. I had him on the list because he was nearby. I'd been with them for a very long time. And he had a lot of good references if he talked to people. And then I had Mr. Hutka because Mr. Hutka had quite a lengthy experience in Florida. Yeah. You want to go down some?
Go through that slowly.
He's currently Broward County's Public Works Director, managing 1,300 streets, traffic, solid waste. He's actually a civil engineer. And then, yeah. his resume is huge. It's just not here. It's somewhere else. I think it's too much to put on there, so it's down. Yeah, it's too much to put on there. He spent, I think, many years as the manager, county administrator for, I want to say, Hennepin County of Minneapolis.
All right, so we have our names. What are the rest of the goals for today's meeting?
Okay, so when you say you have your names, are you taking these 5 plus Van Cleek? Well, you guys have to decide as a group.
I was
Yeah.
in the middle of asking,
Yeah.
is there anybody would like to see from that particular list, or that wasn't presented today that we've received an application for?
I'm not completely through the list, so I'll reserve any others, but I look forward to going through the ones that you guys mentioned.
Okay. So is
I'm okay
there
with that.
consensus to add Mr. Hutka and Mr. Van Cleek and the other 5 that they provided?
At this stage, sure.
I'd like to add Tracy Miller as well.
That's the one that,
She's in Tier 2.
okay. So if everybody's okay with adding Tracy Miller, Thomas Hutka, and Aaron Van Cleek?
So 8 total.
So Mr. Van Cleek did not make it. Where is he?
Yeah.
He's
He's
on
in
the
the non-advanced.
Okay. We don't know why. We don't have any reason why.
He's 30, the 30 qualified, right? They technically have
qualified, yeah.
qualified.
He's qualified.
He's just not recommended
Yeah.
by FACM.
I have an off
Why?
question.
I wonder why.
If-
That
if-
concerns me.
You know, we're talking about different counties that are in state. Broward County has over 2 million or 4 million people now, as compared to, does that take any part of our thinking, and I'm pretty much speaking to the board, as what they're used to doing, and compared to our population, is it better to look at the populations in which they're used to working with larger, much larger counties versus a county of 100 and, let's say, 50,000 people? Is that effective on our thinking? I'm just doing it out of the box. Nobody has an answer, I know. Is that normally the way things work?
Sure.
I mean, there are a variety of things. Obviously, we look for experience in a similar level of a position plays a role, but also how many people there are. I mean, even if you have a county that's 25,000 population and you've served as an assistant manager for a couple years, that level of experience does not mean they might not be the best candidate and maybe even the best fit. But when you have so many applicants and you're looking at that, does that equate as much to somebody who has experience in a larger area or oversees, a larger population? But we also look at area. So, to your point, South Florida versus North Florida, there are differences there too. And so when we look at these applicants, we're trying to really combine or hone in on a lot of those different factors. And some of them will have a lot of those factors. Some may have, one that they're really strong in over others. So
It's
it
just
really
a
is
comment.
how you feel as a board on and who you're going to connect with ultimately. And so that really, from a piece of paper, it's not as easy.
It's hard.
Right, to discern all that. So ultimately, it's going to have to be more of that conversation with some of these folks. But just because they met the minimum qualifications, just because we didn't put them in a Tier 1 or Tier 2 does not mean they're not qualified, and ultimately maybe who you choose to go with.
Thank you.
Now, I know several of them don't live near here. Would this be done by Zoom interviewing at first, or, I know we haven't talked about,
Maybe we have to decide on how many
Right,
we want to interview, too. Yeah.
thank you.
Your HR staff still has more to do with whoever you select as well, so I don't know how many will ultimately be interviewed.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, things, can you hit the next slide?
Yeah, that was a short list we got in our package. There was no one on it. So,
Yeah. So when you look at the next steps, like I said, since we've started the process, the next steps would be, we made our short list today. We're going to take those 8 applicants. We're going to do our background check on our side. FACM's going to deliver a report on those 8 applicants. And then with that information, I think the goal is on August 3rd to come back to you guys and say, okay, how do we want to narrow these down? Let's narrow them down to a reasonable number to interview. And we can talk about what that interview process looks like. And I kind of have it laid out here, but you know, we would obviously need time. I was thinking in person, but it depends. I mean, if we have 8 people, or if you narrow it down to 5, do you guys want to fund 5 people to come, stay overnight, and then, you know, do a 2-day interview? Again, I think the position is very important, and I think it's worth maybe a face-to-face, but that depends on what the August 3rd meeting looks like and what we get down to once you have more background information on these applicants. So I have it up here. The thought process would be one-on-one interviews with you guys, round robin style, like on the 24th, maybe a public meet and greet that evening, and then the next morning doing a public questioning of the applicants, and then doing a special meeting to select one after that would be the plan.
okay, I'm okay. Is everyone else okay? Any questions or thoughts on that?
We can,
I prefer personal meetings. That seems to be the safest.
Personal meetings, I think. Yeah.
Zoom is not,
yeah.
like as,
Okay, so next steps for us, like I said, we're going to give you more information. FACM will provide you more information by the 24th. And then on that 8/3 meeting, we'll get back together and we'll decide on who you guys want to interview. And my team will put everything together. So we'll
Thank
go from
you.
there. All right,
Thank you so much.
that's all. Thank you, guys.
We will have open public comment on this item after our last presentation. The next step is our Beach MSBU presentation.
Madam Chair, I've got a bit of an intro first before the folks come up. And just want to run down some of the key dates, what brought us here for the board's benefit and for the benefit of the public. We had a beach management study reviewed at the board workshops on August 15th, 2022 and August 28th, 2023. Key date prior to that second meeting, May 2023, FDEP published their strategic beach management plan for the Northeast Atlantic Coast region. They haven't yet updated that, but that's out there. That's another bit of source material for us. Our 2 workshops led to our beach management plan, which was adopted by the board on October 16th, 2023. Board discussions then followed on beach nourishment funding at the June 10th, 2024 workshop. Consensus at that workshop was to use a 3-tier 60-25-15 formula for the allocation of the funding, but continue working through the process of fully vetting and legally reviewing the special assessment. Creation of the MSBU district area then for the unincorporated Flagler North 10 plus or minus mile area was in December 2024 through the adoption of Resolution 2024-105. And then September 11, 2025, we had a presentation to the board on the unincorporated Barrier Island Beach Management Special Assessment. A few things came out of that. We had one piece, adoption of Resolution 2025-71, which had a initial levy of $0 for the 2026 fiscal year. It discussed a portion of beach management, which included the activities of nourishment, facilities, and programs. We emphasized in that presentation that this was not an open checkbook. The amount of the funding at that time was yet to be determined based on an apportionment study. That's what's being presented now. And if the BU was to be used in the future, notifications will be made providing amount to be levied and the cap, yet another requirement should you choose to proceed with this. And MSBU is part of a blended beach management funding plan was the explanation was provided to you at that September 11, 2025 meeting. Always intended to be part, not the complete solution. April 26, 2026, we had our JPAs with FDOT for the State Road A1A dune restoration. That was through 2 resolutions and agreements that accompany those, Resolution 2026-15 and 2026-16. We had June 2026, the update of DEP's critically eroded beaches in Florida report, which now includes 16 miles of critically eroded shoreline in Flagler County. And then we had, for today's presentation, instead of the 3-tier approach, after discussing it with our consultant, with our legal advisor also on this, we opted for a 2-tier assessment approach that would be part of what we previously referred to as a blended beach management funding plan. The workshop presentation slides, the draft benefit and apportionment analysis was completed by Taylor Engineering, Michael Del Charco, Leanne Hauptman, PhD, and Patrick Lawson, with legal review by Heather Encinoso of Neighbors Giblin and Nickerson, and substantial support by county staff Hamid Tabassian, Damon Douglas, and Sean Moylan. Also included in this agenda item is the initial draft initial assessment resolution, also known as an IAR, which was prepared by Ms. Encinosa based on the analysis from Taylor Engineering. We emphasized in the staff report, and you saw that, and I'll emphasize to the public here, this workshop is for informational purposes and to solicit input from the public. Should the board wish to proceed with the MSBU in short-term timing, the initial assessment resolution will need to be considered by the board at a special called meeting of the board on Monday, July 20th, 2026 at 5 p.m. in the board chambers. Should you wish to hold off then another year, you won't be as time-limited as we anticipate, but if you do want to proceed with this, you'll need to at least consider that initial assessment resolution as soon as July 20th for us to be able to put out the mailed notice to the property owners. That mailed notice would include a maximum assessment and would also set then a current assessment rate in that mailed out notice. With that, I'll have Hamid, or actually I'll go to Mr. Del Charco. Didn't know if Hamid was going to say anything, but I think I probably stole his thunder already. Michael and Leanne with Taylor Engineering.
Hello.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
We need you on the mic. The mic is, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so as Adam said, the purpose today is to describe the MSBU assessment methodology, the approach that we used for these calculations for only the unincorporated barrier island parts. We're going to identify some of the activity proposed for the funding and the properties receiving the special benefit and explain our apportionment approach. So this is the area and some of the history that Adam has already mentioned. These are, of course, we used everything available to study and understand what was going on within these areas, but these studies go into much more depth than what we were doing. What we were doing was coming up with the methodology to use these studies in order to come up with the apportionment. So MSBU, I guess I don't need to explain all this to you since you know what this what the function is, but you have already established this, and so this is establishing the methodology for that funding. So this is the area in question and the reaches that were assessed 2, 3, and 4, and then the different areas in consideration. So, you know, each reach defines a special MSBU area, and then each parcel is then assigned to that MSBU area and where it's located. And the reason for this is because there's different fundings for projects within these stretches. So these are the costs that were developed. So each mile of shoreline has a maintenance cost associated with it, and that's what we've presented here. So reach 2 miles, 149,000 annual. Reach 3, 5.5 miles, 353,000, and then reach 4, 133,000.
And where's that data? Where can we find that data?
That's in those previous reports that I just mentioned.
Which are where?
The Olson, so you've already adopted them?
Nothing's been done since 1923. We're still using
2023.
2023. We're still using the old beach management plan. We're still using data, which is not accurate.
That is what we used, yeah.
Okay.
So those are the stretches. Then the maintenance costs, the things that you do for maintenance, right, are looking at dune plantings, vegetation, surveys. These things help the DEP determine critically eroded areas, those things. Sampling analysis, monitoring, the post-storm assessments are a big part of that. And then any other reporting that is needed. So those are the costs that we are looking at covering for this MSBU.
But you used what it would cost today to do those things?
We used, the county gave us a number of approximately $50,000 per mile of coastline, and that is what we used.
Okay.
So these are the benefits. Of course, an MSBU is determined by the benefits received for those properties, and these are the benefits that were identified in the MSBU that you defined. So we use those benefits to help us determine what the rates were for each of the properties. So just quickly, erosion control, flood reduction, infrastructure protection, marketability and property value, recreation, and habitat. So using those criteria, we developed the methodology that we're going to now explain. So the key thing is that each property receives the same benefits, but not to the same degree, right? So that's where we came up with the 2 tiers. So the level of benefit depends on the position relationship with the dune system. So we have an ocean-facing tier we call Tier 1, and Tier 2 is the other properties inland. And then, of course, the properties closer to the beach receive a higher weighting because of the more direct benefits from a beach program.
Could you explain why the benefit doesn't cross the intercoastal in these areas?
Our direction was to look at the barrier island unincorporated areas.
Okay, so that was a direction by staff?
Based on, no, we'll talk to the staff after you. Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
So then the different property types, residential, we looked at an EDU based, and that's an equivalent dwelling unit approach. So each parcel, each EDU represents one typical family residence in that parcel. We looked at all the parcel data from your property appraiser, so we had all that available in the GIS databases. Commercial is a just value-based system, which is commonly used in these approaches. We use that just value with the commercial properties to then calculate what their MSBU amount would be. The same with government, also just value-based. And then there's mixed use areas and then common areas that are prorated based on the properties that they serve. So then the location, tier, and proximity. Tier 1 ocean facing was weighted the highest, so 70% of the budget for the maintenance cost was apportioned to those parcels. And then the inland parcels, the remaining 30% of the budget. So these 2 tables present the Tier 1 and the Tier 2 properties, Tier 1 on the top. So you see for the different reaches, 2, 3, and 4, we have the estimated annual budgets for the residential, commercial, and government buildings based on the EDUs and the just values, as I just mentioned. So those are the overall costs associated for those parcels, those within each of the tiers. So that would be the total annual cost. So from there, we calculate an EDU for each of the tiers. So Reach 2 estimated annual EDU would be $795. Tier 2 would be $147. Reach 3, $342 and $27, and then Reach 4, $272 and $47. So this is a flow chart. I really wanted to present to you all a flow chart so you could understand how we walked through it. So I'm just going to go through the 6 steps here. And this was an example from Reach 2 with Reach 2 numbers, just so that you could see what this looked like. So step 1, we had the total annual budget, which I just mentioned was the $50,000 per mile. So that's $149,422. Then we allocate by benefit to each of the tiers. So the ocean-facing tiers got 70% of that budget, or $110,000, and then Tier 2, $49,312. So once we had those budgets, step 3 was to allocate those among all the different property classes. So as I mentioned, the commercial and government were based on just value, which we got from your property appraiser, and then the remaining budgets to the residential. So we have the commercial, government, and residential. So in step 4, you see the residential allocation method is each tier that we had, tier 1, we equally distributed it by equivalent dwelling units in that tier. And then the same for tier 2. Then step 5, the commercial and government, we used the just value for that area of that property and then calculated that for the parcel value. And then step 6 was the common areas. There's large common areas, golf courses, and other public areas, some owned by HOAs or open spaces that weren't directly billed. Their assessment is reallocated or prorated among those parcels within that community. So then on the bottom, you see how that would work out with the numbers, right? So the total annual budget of 149 is then spread out with in tier 1 between the commercial, government, residential, and then showing the residential rate per EDU. And there's 128 EDUs in that tier. And then the same thing for tier 2. You can see there's no government buildings in that tier 2, reach 2, and there's 309 residential units. So the results would be these, just working through the math, this is what they work out to be. So again, presenting the EDUs, the rate per EDU, commercial and government budgets. And then for reach 2, so that was the maintenance budget. If you looked at the capital budget, which is what the cost would be to do your total renourishment, which, as Adam said, is still in flux, right? It depends on critically eroded areas by the DEP and how much they're going to fund, Corps, how much they're funding, what different projects look like. So they asked us to look at just what the maximum would be, and that would be a $2 million assessment to look at the whole renourishment of the properties. And so if you were to look at that maximum, which we're calling the capital budget apportionment, the tier 1 facing budget goes up to 387, tier 2 inland 187, and then for a total of 575. So then you can see in the 4th column there, the residential, the 5th column, the rate per EDU for tier 1 and tier 2. And the same with commercial and government. So the key takeaways is that this assessment was really to look at the maintenance of beach and dune projects that provide, with these special benefits, look at these areas within the entire MSBU of just the unincorporated areas on the barrier island. Looked at the parcels by property type and their location. Residents used EDUs, and then commercial and government parcels just value. And then these were weighted, as I said, on ocean facing and other. And then the final assessments are really tied to the relative benefits and the county's adopted annual maintenance. That's it.
Okay, I'm going to open up for the commission. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Well, I think what we're looking at first is to do the maintenance piece. I think, at least in my mind, that's what we're doing, and as opposed to the construction piece. I'd like to hear comments from the other commissioners on that, but I think they both have to be dealt with, but the funding for the maintenance is the issue that we've had all along. We didn't have money for.
Ms. Richardson, anything?
Not yet.
All right. Ms. Carney?
Yeah, this is not something new. I met with the previous administration, and I met with the current administration, and I do not believe that the current 2023, I wasn't here, it doesn't matter that I wasn't here, but I do not believe that the current beach management plan is accurate. I believe it needs to be updated before we assess any values to anybody. And mostly the concern is how we are determining the maintenance and construction needs There's been a lot that's changed. Critically eroded designation, reach 2 possibly not panning out. There's a lot of, and I understand you guys are consultants and you're looking at black and white, but we're not. We're dealing with emotions, property, people's homes, people's pocketbooks. I am not convinced that that beach management plan from 2023 is accurate. I would like it reviewed and updated before I make any decisions on MSBU's. That's all I have.
Well, Kim, what do you want to update? We know the number of miles. They're using current data for what it takes to do the renourishment. They're not using data from that survey.
We don't
So
have a renourishment project, though.
What do you want
Okay.
updated?
I want the fact that Reach 4 and Reach 3 are not currently permittable for beach renourishment. I've got no problems with a dune extension or a dune, what do you call it, robust dune. I have no problems with either one of those, but not in Reach 3 and not in Reach 4. They're not doable projects. We are overtaxing, we are overestimating.
You're mixing 2 different projects here. The first one is beach renourishment, and that's the smaller amount, and that's what we don't have any funding for anywhere.
Beach maintenance.
No, beach maintenance.
Maintenance, yeah. Beach maintenance. We don't have any money for that. So that's what this kind of, it helps with that. The other project, the actual reconstruction of the beach, that's a whole different ballgame. And we got problems in Reach 3, we know. We know we have a lot of problems. It was a boon that we got critically eroded now for all of Reach 3. But we still have the hard bottom issue that's not solved. And that's a multiplier, if you will, on what it's going to cost. So, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about beach maintenance. And there is no funding available anywhere for that. So,
All right, well, I want to see how they came up with the numbers on that chart. I want to see how they came up with 200 and whatever it is.
By Reach
Yeah, by Reach.
for maintenance.
We know that we're going to be monitoring our beach. It should be, I'm sure it's part of the beach management plan that we monitor it every year. There has to be some data or something that I can't fathom the thought that a plan is put in place in '23 and no changes have been made or conceptually displayed to this board since 2023. I just need another look at, I'm not disputing the fact that the beach is eroded. I'm not disputing any of that. Been from Flagler Beach for 25 years. I lived through the Army Corps. I get it. I'm just not sold on our current concept.
So just to clarify what Commissioner Hanson's saying, this was just to look at the maintenance dollars, and the maintenance dollars of $50,000 per year per mile was direction from your staff, because that's what they need to do the maintenance. So that's separate from the capital cost, and that's not going to include. So the beach plan that you're mentioning, you're right. There's lots of things that need to be solved for that. But for the maintenance cost of simply $50,000 per mile, that's the simple math that we did to come up with the MSBU that I showed in the first part. So I may have
So when
confused
there's
the issue.
variations in the MSBU rates for Reach 2 versus Reach 3, that you didn't take the math and say 50,000 times 16 miles or how many, 12 miles. You said this is how many surveys will be done in this area, in this reach a year. This is,
Right, so that's where the county came up with the number of what it takes to do the maintenance for all those things, for the vegetation, for the surveys, for the post-disaster analyses and those things.
I'd like to see it. That's not on you.
Right.
I got it.
Mr. Dance?
This under this current configuration of the commission, I don't know that we're going to get anywhere. I keep going back to a blended, what I thought was an equitable funding strategy that where the initial MSBU discussion came into place. And it was part of a plan where the remainder and the parts of the county also contributed. We're now down to just doing maintenance and trying to fund maintenance, which I tend to believe can be attributed to the ad valorem taxes under our current structure that we get from Bear Island residents. I think this is a timing issue to a degree because we're in flux right now with ad valorem funding and how our requirements are going to be met through that funding. I'm welcome to take this issue up again after November, but I don't know at this point if it's prudent to continue maybe zero funding the MSBU until we really know what we're going to be faced with.
No, I actually
And I
think-
do still think we have lots of other discussions about, not to mix everything and muddy it, but I mean, we do have a lot of other discussions about, and maybe what the, beach renourishment looks like for the other phases. And, but that's where I am on this one right now.
I tend to agree with a piece of that, is that this thing that's hanging over our head in November, if that were to pass, then this will be necessary.
Correct.
Okay, so maybe the best thing is to table this discussion until we see what happens in November and hope that the citizens of Flagler County are smart enough not to vote for that. So, but
Well-
if they do vote for it, then we're going to have to do this. Absolutely. We're going to have to do something like this.
So this is, so the MSBU piece is strictly for maintenance, not for
That's right.
construction. So that still has to be worked out, reach
But the
two
ordinance
issues.
that we're talking about today or tomorrow, tonight? When's the ordinance? Tonight?
Yeah, there's a
It
special,
says that that you can do construction and/or maintenance. The ordinance that we have does not limit this MSBU to maintenance.
the ordinance is not specific to the beach, though. The ordinance is a broad special assessment ordinance.
Correct, but in it, if you read it line by line, it will say it does not only pertain to maintenance.
I agree.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, good, okay. I think the push here, Chairman, is that just like last year, we're under a time constraint. Am I correct, Attorney Rodriguez? That if we don't at least announce a zero, if we don't at least announce an MSBU, we're going to lose the MSBU that we filed like 2 or 3 years ago.
No, that happens in December. As long as we claim the MSBU by the end of the year, we're good.
Oh,
They
okay.
want us to put a number to it now.
Okay, but we have until December, correct, to notify the Department of Revenue that we're assessing.
If we're going to put a number on it, I don't think we have till December, because then it's going to roll, if it's under December, in order to roll for next year's trim notices, so that the public is aware of what the number will be. That would be the deadline. We're not looking at putting it for trim notices for this year. So we're trying to get this rolled to, that would be trim notices sent out in 2027. If that's what the aim is for. That's where the deadline is.
If we wait, then it goes to 28. If we don't do anything now, if we wait and see what happens in November.
So we're
then
staging
it's
for
too late to put
27,
it in.
28.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're pushing it automatically to 28
Okay.
for a collection of it, which I don't have a problem with.
So with or without a project? we can tax for future maintenance.
If maintenance itself is the project, and now if it, then that's the plan, then that is the benefit that's going to accrue to those that are being assessed.
So emergency
It's
dune,
important.
extension, plants, that kind of stuff.
If it's going to be maintenance, it's important to note that this is not, don't want to necessarily label this as a tax, as an MSBU is an assessment.
Sorry.
Just want to differentiate
Okay,
that.
sorry.
As an assessment, and the assessment is on that benefit that's going to accrue on those that are being assessed, which is going to be the maintenance of the beach.
Okay.
The only thing I can think about, because again, out of the box, is we've got storm season until December. So we don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully, God willing, nothing's going to happen, and we'll be at the same place we are today. I just want to keep that in mind before we start talking numbers and needs. We don't know what our needs are going to be by the end of the year due to the weather. So it just makes me, growing up and having damage every year from South Florida, I know that we've gotten away from that a little bit. So I just want to bring that into everybody's head, that we may need some more help later. That's it.
So we unfortunately for us, we got this presentation at like 5 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah, it was useless.
I have some thoughts, but can we go ahead and just do public comment on this, and then we'll come back to, would that be okay with you? Thank you, sir. I'd like to go ahead and open up this, as well as the previous presentation, the applicant shortlist that we went over for county administration, to public comment. It's a 30-minute time period allocated for public comment. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address commission. Speakers should approach podium, identify themselves, and direct comments to chair.
My name is Dr. Lynn Bravo Rosewater. I live in the hammock. My question is that you are charging us for public beaches, and we're paying for it? If Flagler County created public beaches, don't they have responsibilities for those beaches? How is it that you said if you live over in the hammock and that's where the public beaches are, you got to pay for that? That doesn't make sense. So it seems to me, in terms of the allotment, unless that's under government, you know, what's the government going to pay? Because those are public beaches available to anybody. And I don't see why the people who are residential have to pay for that. The other thing, as all this convolutedness has been going on, is if you would pass the 1/2 cent, 50 cents on $100 tax, you'd have money. So instead of saying, yeah, we can give everybody a 1/2 cent raise on, and those people are going to be also people who are visiting and who are tourists, we'd have that money. So it just seems to me that the decision to place this all on the people that live there is inordinately unfair. And, you know, when you say this is reach 2, 3, and 4, we're reach 3. Who's paying for 2? Who's paying for 4? I mean, this does not make sense. That's how I feel. I've come away from this more confused than I came to it. But I would really ask that you consider that 1/2 cent tax. It's going to give you money. No matter what happens in November, it's still going to give you money. That's my comments. Thank you.
Madam Chair, can we put up the slide that has the 7 different benefits?
Do we have that slide? Go ahead. Yes,
You
ma'am.
want to do that?
Yes, sir.
The 7 benefits?
Just so it's reflected up there, so everybody knows it's not just
It fits in with
beach.
some of my comments. so
Okay.
It would work.
You find the slide?
By the way, my name is Ed White, and I live on Ocean Street in Marineland Acres, which is in the hammock down towards Washington Oaks. I sent you all an email earlier today, and I'm sorry it was so late, but all this happened kind of late, it seemed like. And whatever I have to say is mostly in that email, and thank you for responding, Commissioner Carney. Like the previous speaker, I have moments of clarity on this, but I also have moments of total confusion as well. So if I conflate maintenance of the beach and construction of the beach, I apologize ahead of time. But some of my questions, and I have many, are, it would be interesting to know who decided that that only residents of the hammock benefit from the beach. And I guess they decided that the rest of Flagler County does not benefit by having the beach, since the MSBU is only assigning funding to residents of the hammock. Does not make sense to me. Two of the special benefits, there they are right there, listed are home market value and recreation. Do residents west of the Intracoastal Waterway not benefit from increased home market value because we have a beautiful beach in Flagler County? Do they not benefit? They have the opportunity to recreate on this beach, just like I have the opportunity to recreate at some of the great parks on the other side of the Intracoastal Waterway, whether I use them or not, and I help fund those. Also, tourism. I think we can all agree that tourism is a major asset of Flagler County, and that the beach drives tourism as much as anything else, arguably, in Flagler County. Does the rest of Flagler County reap any benefit from the tourism, much of which happens because of the beach? I think so. Another question is, there was a 70-30 benefit split or funding split. Now, I don't live on the ocean, so I guess I would be one of the ones that pays the 30%. But I just know that seemed kind of arbitrary to me. Is there logic behind that? And maybe there is, and I just haven't seen it. I mean, I would suggest that maybe, from my previous comments, that maybe the split should be something for oceanfront, something for non-oceanfront, and something for the rest of Flagler County, maybe a little bit smaller. Also, when you had the benefits up there, it listed erosion control as a special benefit. Erosion control comes from adding sand, and this may be where I'm conflating construction with maintenance. But the list of things under this MSBU did not have any cost for sand. That's sand, and the distribution of that sand is like the major cost involved in what we're going to be doing with our beaches over time. Be through in just a second.
Thank you.
And I also just want to say, I'll skip to the bottom of my comments. I also want to say I also still support a 50-cent sales tax. I think it spreads the funding of this through all residents of Flagler County, including tourists.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You're welcome.
I'll try to get
And
through
I really
everybody here.
think there should be a combination. Appreciate it.
Next speaker.
Good afternoon. My name is Sean Lennon. I'm part of Ocean Hammock Board. I have some comments. You know, as a homeowner and a board member representing an oceanfront community, I fully recognize that our properties receive direct and significant benefit from a healthy beach. And I support creating a reliable long-term renourishment program. I am also prepared to accept that oceanfront properties should bear a larger share than other properties. My concern is that the documents do not clearly demonstrate why 70% is correct. Tier 1 allocation, reconcile of different costs, define what the county's ongoing contribution is, and while it may appear as a modest, amount, the same methodology is being used to model the larger capital expenses and assessments. So before the structure becomes permanent, property owners deserve a transparent budget, a documented benefit allocation, firm crediting from outside funding, and a separate approval of capital obligations and annual accounting by REACH. You know, there's no empirical analysis that supports the 30-70-30 split. Nothing's been presented. And why does the maintenance analysis of the documents all read differently? So the maintenance analysis shows approximately $636,000. The resolution identity identifies $509,000 in service costs, and the owner notice identifies $575,000 in asset revenue. So none of the numbers really add up. So I would think that the analysis really needs to be relooked at and gone through with a full plan before anything comes forward. And then how does someone identify as Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3? And what is the process if someone's identified incorrectly? So I think there's a lot more work that needs to go into this before it can go forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask where the appropriation study is? I have not seen this document. Can I ask anybody where it is?
Yeah, it should be linked. It's also online.
I don't think so.
Linked and online.
Next speaker?
It's in your agenda. It should be the second item. The draft resolution is the third item.
Yes, thank you. My name is George Macco, also live in a hammock. Just a couple comments. One, when I look at your rationale, I'm thinking to myself, our school system, which in Flagler County gets such excellent results, maybe on your rationale, only people with kids, with children in school should be paying for that. We have no children, but we have no qualms of paying for a good school system. So I think everyone that benefits should be responsible for part of this project. The other thing is, I'm really confused on this whole process trying to follow everything today, but I'm not sure I understand if there's a cap on the future or if this is just an immediate charge, and in the future we're going to see an additional charge. So I think that that's one of the issues that should be addressed, not only what we're talking now, but we're talking the future. So like I said, I think that we all benefit by our park system, we all benefit by our school system, we all benefit by our medical system. So everyone that benefits should participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person. Richard. Might as well come up and wait. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Greg Feldman. I live in the hammock as well. This will be a very short comment. I have listened to everybody up here. I think that tabling this for the foreseeable future is a proper move only because there's too many questions. The public has too many questions. I believe that Commissioner Carney, Commissioner Dance, and everybody else has questions, and it seems to be prudent to table it for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hamilton.
Richard Hamilton, a resident of Island Estates. And I've just dropped my notes, but it really doesn't matter. Because
Stop his time, stop his time.
I had a long list of questions, and I still have that long list, just as you do. I'll say I do feel for you. I mean, you're struggling with this, as we are. And your staff, I can't criticize them. They're struggling with everything to do with the budget, all the other things, and this sword of Damocles, tax revenue hanging over our head. So with that, I think I have to agree. You just have to put it aside. Because I was going to ask, in the process, it's 6 weeks now since we had the June the 1st meeting, and we had a proposal. And Sean Moylan was very good. Let's send me the proposal quick. And I got information from your property appraiser and things, so I could work through the numbers. It's all changed. 6 weeks, it's all changed. This proposal was completely different than the other one. So now we're thinking, what do we have? 1 week to look through all the details of this and then come back again next week? It doesn't make sense. We have to do something maybe just to make sure that gaps in the dunes are filled before the hurricane season and things. But for the long-term proposal, this doesn't cut it. So you just have to put a rest for the moment. But look at other funding you've got, sales tax. Maybe those are still a possible way to keep some money in the bucket. But other than that, that's all I can say at the moment. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker. No? Sir, are you coming? Oh, no. Yes.
Go ahead.
Wait, there's one more.
I agree with,
State your name, sir.
My name is Mike McCabe. I live on Island Estates at 149 Island Estates Parkway. Of course, I agree that beachfront owners should pay a little more than non-beachfront owners. That's a reasonable thing. But to allocate all of the costs for the beach in this little simple slice that's near the beach, I think is fundamentally wrong. I mean, look at the traffic that we saw on July 4th coming across the bridge to visit the beach. I mean, it was stop and go the whole way. Secondly, let me finish that by saying, so this is a county problem in my mind. This is not a Flagler Beach problem. And the rest of the county needs to ante up in this situation. Thirdly, the reaches that we've described here, those are arbitrary. It looks to me like it needs to be, when you start assessing, you ought to assess over the whole 15 miles, not on just each individual piece. For instance, I'm in Tier 2, and I'm in the second reach, so I would pay $147, and my neighbor just a little bit north of me, 10 houses, pays $27. I mean, there's no logic in that, okay? That is just totally beyond logic, okay? I appreciate that there's a huge funding issue here, but somehow we've got to reach out to the state and to the county and get more funding in here than just the people who live along the beach. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Raymond Royer, Painters Hill. My understanding with this whole project, since I've been here over a year now, watching this process take effect, my understanding there was supposed to be a short-term and a long-term comprehension plan given to the state. So does this short-term plan meet the obligations for the state to be approved? You have to look at that. They're asking for a short-term and a long-term plan. I believe this short-term plan doesn't meet those requirements because it also includes emergency storms that will take out, like the northern storms that we get here in the winter, and take the sand out. We could replenish it. Let's just say the plan is effective today. We could replenish it and have it done in a month, and by November, the storm comes through from the north and takes that sand away. Now, where's the maintenance money? We don't have it. So you have to have a better plan for maintenance. That's not a maintenance plan that we're doing. We're shooting from the hip again. Also, my understanding is, where does this stop? Where's the buck stop? I went to Beverly Beach's meeting, and they showed me your long-term proposal that Heidi, your last administrator, gave them. And that proposal was asking them to give almost $800,000 a year. Okay, so that was a special assessment they were given. And they were shaking in their boots. That's almost 5 times more than their budget. And how were they supposed to come up with that? So my question would be, what is the long-term plan? I mean, you're saying you're going to give us Tier 1 special assessment. What does Tier 2 look like now? Because that's going to be more expensive. Because Beverly Beach was assessed at 1.1 of a mile for $800,000. And you're saying this is $50,000. Well, that's a long spread, okay, from maintenance to replenishing. So he's got a lot of work to do. And Kim, thank you for asking some tough questions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
David Eckert, Calais del Sur. For the workshop next week, there's no direction established for it. This will be the third year that we, I guess, will have a fallback position that the general fund will be appropriated in some way during the budget for beach. We did that 2 years ago. We did it this year. We can do it next year. The FDP has been very supportive of both the REACH 1 process and the REACH 2 process. All the money that sits on our books relative to be ready for REACH 2 to be spent, I hope will still continue to be spent for a dredge project this year or the next year. The point would be is that we have a budget process that is pending relative to the referendum vote. So I'm assuming by inference that what the commission is thinking now is that you will just take part of the budget process and use the ad valorem and allocate some portion of that to the beach as you have done in the last 2 years. If that's the approach that you should take, that should be the clarification for the workshop next Monday. If you want to try to create some aspect, some remnant of an MSBU and collect some amount for the studies that have to be done to clarify beach management plan for REACH 3 and REACH 4, you have to maybe use the MSBU to have the funding necessary on a local basis to be able to do those studies. The studies would be relative to the exposed rock and what can be done for mitigation. So you have the idea of using the general funds to allocate in a soft way money available for beach activities, and maybe that will be enough money. You could do that. But maybe you could establish a shell of an MSBU. It's already set up. I'm not even sure why we need another resolution. Or the MSBU is set up. If you had one uniform collection to be able to fund the studies for REACH 3 and REACH 4 at the same time that REACH 2 is implemented for a beach ban, then I start to see what can be done at next week's workshop. Otherwise, I'm as confused as everybody else about what we're talking about. But the MSBU structure work should not be thrown out, because even if we do have a half-cent sales tax or a county-wide tax, doing something from an MSBU relative to the structure that's being proposed is not a throwaway, in my opinion.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, seeing none, I close public comment. I'll bring you guys back up. I think there's some questions that came out of that. Mr. Hanson?
Well, have it.
Okay, I have a question. There was a lot about the yes, sir, if you could come up. There was a lot of questions regarding the funding split, the logic behind the 70-30. Can you describe how you said that 70% is obviously the ocean front and 30% being the rest of the barrier island?
Right, so if you look at the benefits that we had listed, we went through all them and did several different scoring matrices, and really we're confident that the 70-30 split was a reasonable split. I actually have a statement I'd like to read.
I had that slide, but I think it just disappeared.
Bring up the slides or not?
Just
So the benefit slides would be the helpful one.
Number 8.
That one, yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So the 70-30 allocation reflects the relative degree of the benefits received. Ocean-facing properties receive the most direct and substantial benefits from the beach project, including protection from erosion and wave action, preservation of usable beach frontage, and protection of property value. All other properties receive meaningful benefits, particularly from reduced flooding, protection of infrastructure, continued beach access, and preservation of the barrier island setting. But those benefits are generally less direct. When we evaluated those benefits using a consistent high, moderate, low scoring system, the results supported allocating approximately 70% to the ocean-facing properties and 30% to everyone else. We believe that is reasonable and defensible allocation, not a claim of mathematical precision, but a fair reflection of the substantial difference in relative benefit.
That was one of the costs. To be clear, this MSBU that we're addressing today would strictly cover maintenance and not construction. Is there any assurance that to the residents that, because construction obviously is the larger cost, that they're not going to share that in that burden in the future with this MSBU? There's no.
That's not
I don't
me.
think it's on you. Don't.
Well,
No, I
if
mean,
they
I just.
listen- If they'll take our word for it, yeah.
Well,
We're not
it's,
gonna do
that's the issues with MSBUs. At
Yeah.
any time,
Right.
Through the,
Right.
Madam Chair, through the resolution, you would set a maximum assessment amount. And in order to have anything at this time other than maintenance, you'd have to have a specific project that would be funded through the MSBU. So you'd have to have a project, a cost, and then have a demonstrated benefit to each of those, and then have that separate resolution setting that maximum assessment amount.
right? Because, and I think that needs to be clear in terms of the construction piece. The reason there are reaches is because each reach has individual needs and individual permitting. So reach 3 and 4 don't have permittable projects. Reach 2 has a permittable project right now. If the MSBU were to come into play in terms of construction, only reach 2 or the permittable project, people would be charged at the time during construction, correct? Am I correct in saying that? With an MSBU?
Well, Reach 2 is funded.
No, I know, but I'm just trying to explain to them, like, the terrifying, if I were under this, if I had an MSBU, I would be asking the question, is this in perpetuity? I'm being charged this. How do you control the cost of each item in the maintenance plan? And because it's 600,000 this year, next year it could be 800,000, it's constantly adjusting. Show me how I can get there, how I can understand, are you going to control the cost, set it at 600? You're saying every year that we address the MSBU, there will be a number associated saying it will be no more than this much next year, and we're voting in these numbers for that year.
That'd be what I would do, and then also you remember that this is part of a blended funding plan, so that the idea is that this will handle some, maybe most, but not all. And so you ought to have some other money coming into this, maybe from whatever other sources that are out there. But that the way I would envision this is that you'd come forward annually as costs increase on the maintenance, and have yet another assessment resolution and notification to the property owners.
So the idea behind the MSBU and the ordinance out there to pass would be, this is the amount, everybody within those tier 1, tier 2 would be charged X amount for the year, beginning 27, 28?
Yes, that would be the timing.
Okay, and there would be, and this is, we could specify that it's maintenance only, so that their MSBU could not be adjusted. Future boards could include construction, but not this particular year, this particular assessment.
That's correct.
Okay, and for not including the city of Palm Coast, for those asking, we cannot place an MSBU on another municipality. So that they're not in control in our purview.
That is also correct.
And I believe there could not be a benefit really found for Western Flagler to assess, at least the last time I met with them.
Not under the.
From maintenance.
Not under you have two things at play here. You have a specific district boundary that was established through Resolution 2024-105, which excluded anything off of the barrier island that is anything other than unincorporated. So you have that, and then also you'd have to have a separate study that would show a demonstrated benefit to any other parcel in order to assess them.
And then the other thing is, when we were talking about the half cent, and other people paying, we still have construction funding to do. So we are still going to be looking at the existing general half cent, the ad valorem, the TDT tourism funds, which everyone pays into at some bucket. So we still are not, this board is not looking at construction funding through an MSBU.
Not with the report that you've received today. And I'd say as
Just
far
looking
as
at
construction funding, all options are on the table still. They remain there.
Correct. And so the assurance from this board, if anybody was to look at any portion of this today, is that this is for maintenance. And this will show up in the 2027, 2028 year, and it's not to exceed 636,000 or somewhere in there. Correct.
Correct.
Okay. And the 70-30 split came from you doing your scoring mechanisms based on oceanfront versus not. Okay. Still clear as, it's clear, but clear for me, but not for them. I completely could see how, difficult it is. Can you, was it broken out in here specifically what is maintenance, the definition of the maintenance? I think it's on a previous slide.
These were the
Thank you.
parts in there, yep. And this is a general list. I am sure that your staff could give you a...
We currently fund this just straight from the other sources, ad valorem.
Man, I think I have my voice back. Having been dealing with this for years and years,
Oh, please, folks out there, if we could just,
So-
we can hear that more than here.
so just to get this out on the table. So we had a solution. We had a half-cent sales tax, would have taken care of all this. Then there would be no MSBU, there'd be none of that. Then there was a second solution, and that was vetoed by this board, half-cent sales tax. So the next one was to fence and create a beach maintenance fund funded out of ad valorem. And that was not on the list, off the table. So we had solutions, both of which were painful to people on this board, to fund this and not do an MSBU. It's out there. The money's out there if we just went to a different source to get it.
The last time I
So-
saw the MSBU, it also included the half-cent sales tax.
No.
Yes.
It did.
Yes,
It was
it did.
presented with it at $160 a household.
Sure did. See, this is
And
why we
they're saying
need
yes.
a funded beach management plan so that we know what the plan is, because in order to get funding, my understanding from the state of Florida, we have got to prove that we have a maintenance plan for whatever sand we put on that beach, dune, whatever you want to call it. We have to be able to show that we can support the maintenance. It's not just in unincorporated Flagler County. It's also in Flagler Beach, and it's also in Beverly Beach, and it's also in Marineland. We do not have jurisdiction over Flagler Beach, Beverly Beach, or not yet over Marineland. So we are focusing on what we can focus on. I've been up here a year and a half, and every single funding plan that I looked at had an MSBU on maintenance. Every one of them, including TDC money, ad valorem money, half-cent sales tax, whatever we could throw at it, county, state funding, whatever we could come up with. Flagler Beach has come up with $750,000. Poor Beverly Beach, what are they going to do? They haven't even come to us yet to ask us what we plan on doing with Reach 2. We're like less than 6 months away from Beverly Beach dune or beach, and we don't even have a maintenance plan yet. So you all have a bunch of questions. I have a bunch more, but I'm hoping staff can pick up on the fact that we're all confused. If we don't hammer this detail down, we're just going to keep bouncing around. The half-cent sales tax was not the answer. It was one portion of 7 funds that was going to do this. This MSBU is not taking care of everything. It's a portion of what we need. You don't want to pay for it. You don't want to participate in it. We all get that. I live in Flagler Beach. I don't want to pay for it. The point is this: we do nothing, do nothing. We do something. Flagler Beach got something. Maybe we'll get something someday. But to sit here and do nothing, those homes on the beach, on the ocean front, in Hammock Resort, the water is not going to stop eroding this beach. So we have to put, those homes are also a third of the income that comes into this county. So how can we sit here and neglect that fact? We can't do that. We must have a plan. I hate our plan, if you haven't figured it out yet, because I don't usually get this emotional until I just hate something. But I've asked 4 times for us to revisit this. And until this board of at least 3 of us gives administrative direction to our administrator to fix this plan, we're not going to have a fixed plan. It's going to stay like it was in 2023. I got an email to that effect this week. I begged for some new numbers, and I'm not going to get them. That's what I'm hearing. So sand is sand, the dune is the dune. I'm also a realtor, Ms. Pam is a realtor. If you don't think that people that live oceanfront have a higher home value than the people that live anywhere else in this county, you're not looking at the data. This company has done what they were asked to do to get us where we need to get. Last time I went over to Sea Colony, I sure couldn't go through that gate and go swimming on their beach.
That's right.
You can't do it. The county's going to take care of Varn Park. The county's going to take care of our Bay Street Park. The county is in on this. We need help from the citizens. It is what it is. We cannot assess people in Bunnell for a benefit on the barrier island. It doesn't even make sense. It won't even hold up in court. Never mind, wouldn't it be nice? We can't do it. All the data is telling us we can't do it. So I gotta stop. This just makes me so emotional and so crazy. I think we need a better plan. I think we need to relook at our numbers. And I think that the maintenance needs to be defined. You're doing a great job in your slide. It needs to go into the beach management plan so these folks know how the $50,000 per year per mile is calculated. There's just too much open to guessing. And I think that's where our confusion is. I know that's where my confusion is. So for those non-analytical types, I get it. But I'm not willing to give up another year of trying to get going. And as long as we have the data behind it, we can move forward. It's just getting that data to make sense to everyone, not just this board, everyone.
Public.
Just a short question. The methodology that you used in calculating the 70-30 split, right? It's not a numeric metric more than a feeling to a degree, backed by. So you need to clarify that only because it has to be defensible in court. So can that same rationale you explained, has that been proven defensible in other MSBU lawsuits that have been challenged?
I don't know the answer to that. I know that I can defend what we did, like coming up with the metrics and stress test it and looked at the numbers many different ways and feel very confident that that number is a good split.
Thank you.
I don't think we have the attorney that looked at it for, what was it, Heather from Neighbors? She's not here, correct?
No, we would have her available on the 20th, is what we discussed.
All right. Okay. I have to think through a few more things.
Well,
Apologies.
question for you, what new data do you need to make your report better?
So for the maintenance, the 50,000 mile is the number we used, right? So that was what
That's your
used.
number. I mean, you
That's
figured
what we
that
used
out.
for all the calculations.
So you don't need anything new?
No. So a
Okay.
beach management plan would lay out the bigger picture for all the capital costs and all those
Right.
other pieces, but it probably wouldn't change that.
Right.
But I think the issue, another issue besides several things brought up is we go back to Mr. Dance's point, which is, what really becomes of any beach plan in Flagler County if tax reform goes through in November? Right. Because no half penny is going to bring that revenue needed for that project, for any of those projects back. So at that point, does maintenance still become a thing that you want to continue? So that's so I take out the construction portion and I look to everybody to tell me, does maintenance continue if you can't fund construction? I mean, those bids came in, first of all, incredibly high. But secondly, are you going to have maintenance if you don't have a revenue here after November?
Well, if you don't have maintenance, you're not going to, the state's not going to
Ever
kick
give you,
in.
yeah, but you're not going to have, given the issue with Flagler County revenue, you're not going to have matches or anything else. I mean, you're going to be,
But we can fund, we don't need right now the MSBU to fund the maintenance.
Right.
It can come from the general
yeah,
fund.
I
We can demonstrate that.
I just sort of feel like I need to see how we, not only November, but Reach 2 plays out and how we're able to do it to implement the MSBU.
So from the workshop, what do you need from us? What
Just
do
a
we need
decision whether or not
for
we're going through
staff?
on the 20th. I know we're meeting with Flagler Beach separately on a joint city-county to talk about theirs. I know, when do we discuss and have the timeline for funding on Beach, or Reach 2?
We're,
we had some asks.
we'll have the contract for Reach 2 award at the August 3rd regular meeting. And so at that point, we'll have more direct discussion about Reach 2.
The last given date to make a decision for this MSBU for maintenance for the 2027-28, you have to have by the end of July for the 20th?
27, 28 would actually be, that would be delaying this. And so in order to have it on the upcoming year, I think I'm looking to Mr. Gardner, that's why we were having the July 20th special called meeting in order to send out notices to set a maximum assessment. We're going to miss the trim notices. We'll have to mail our own. But that would then be that'd be for the next tax year, the 26, 27.
Got it, okay. So is there consensus to continue at 0 for this year?
To do what?
To leave the MSBU at 0, or are you needing?
Yes.
0?
Well, you've only got a window here and you have questions, and they have questions, and everyone has questions, and everyone seems to be holding on November's outcome. But I feel yes, sir.
1, yes.
I'm a 2.
No.
We're asking for consensus. Mr. Dance is yes to tabling it for the year. I'm a yes. Ms. Carney's a no. You're a yes?
So it's at 0 for 28.
No,
It means that what you're saying is you're not assessing anything in 28?
No, we could,
no, 27.
in 27.
26, 27, 27
26,
fiscal year.
27.
Better make it clear what he just come out, would he repeat his, or can the?
Yeah, Mr. Dance, would you like to repeat what you said in the beginning
we can
regarding
have our
tabling it?
recording.
Me?
Yes, I think that's what she's
We
asking.
can have our recording people to repeat, receipt what your.
Well, really,
a
my
motion.
my concerns are from my standpoint, the MSBU is a valid and functioning agreement but we're having some difficulties right now in timing. So I would continue the zero funding for clarity and from the voters on November, and also I think there's a multitude of various questions. So I just think for this year, we're running out of time, and we zero fund it this year and revisit it next budget.
See, and we did that. We did that last year. And we were told that we were going to have something in December. Then we were going to have something in January. Then we all had meeting. Well, I had a meeting. I think it was March, sometime in March. Why did it take so long to get here? And are we just going to repeat the cycle year after year after year after year and never get to a funding source? Does anybody know why it took so long?
Well, we have two different deadlines. One is in December to continue the language, which we do every December.
Yeah, we did.
So that the MSB doesn't go away.
I'm talking about the appropriation study.
Right, so that happened, well,
Andy, we were promised that study in the winter. It just kept dragging on and on and on and on. Why did it drag on?
I can't answer that one.
So we could go forward to July 20th meeting and still come out a no and setting it 0. But we would have the attorney present that can talk more at length about to the defense of the items that would be covered in the MSBU. Is that correct? She'll be present, or do we know, Ms. Nickel? Heather from Neighbors and...
Should be present virtually, I think, is what we had anticipated on the 20th.
Okay. Do we have... Because maintenance is going to happen this year regardless. This is just a question of whether or not you want the general fund to fund the maintenance this year, or you want to go ahead and set up the MSBU to fund the maintenance.
That's correct.
So what do you have for consensus, Chair?
Right now, it looks like
Pam?
consensus is to
Three of them all said yes.
delay. You know, if you want to go through with the 20th, and just so you can have more questions answered by the attorney, we could do that.
Well, do they need an official, when do you need an official motion and approval to zero fund it? When do you need that? That has to be a board vote.
Decision.
And so when do you need
Have to
that?
be done later.
The reason why we were saying the 20th before would give us enough time to be able to do the mail out to all the owners, and so whether it's a 0 or it has a rate, and so it gave us the optimal time. We could not wait until the August 3rd regular meeting to do this, and so that's why we were
So
saying.
we still have to meet next Monday to vote on this, or do we do that at the special meeting? But that's just for the budget for the millage, okay?
August 20th. If your consensus is to not move forward with the MSBU,
Well, I think there's just more questions, and that's sort of our problem right now. I mean, on the one hand, I completely understand tax reform in November, making a bigger discussion about that. On the other hand, you're going to go through with this beach maintenance, and to Ms. Carney's point, you have to have a maintenance plan in order to, regardless.
To ask for it.
we'd have, there needs to be assurances to the residents that you wouldn't be touching the MSB, you would not be adjusting the MSBU for the construction portion of it.
Madam Chair, if I could add too, I just want to make sure I state for the record, I think you're looking for additional input from Ms. Encinosa. She was involved in the initial assessment resolution. If you're looking for something specific to that, as far as how the resolution was crafted, then that's
my
that's an answer
understanding.
she can provide, but
These benefits were reviewed by the MSBU attorney,
correct.
and they felt that that was accurate, from my understanding with Mr. Moylan.
Based on the methodology, yes, ma'am.
Because
So if
that was
you-
a big
if-
question here,
If you
too.
have a question about the methodology, you've got the folks here to answer it, so.
So again, we will see all of our special assessments at what date in the budget process, right? Those all show up on,
Yeah, first public hearing, so that should be.
Beginning of September?
3rd, yes, sir.
so really consensus is telling you to zero the MSBU for that publication. So when it comes back to us, it'll just be zero. That's all you need from us.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's where it is.
So for the benefit of the public, this will come back to a vote, the first public hearing in September, the budget public hearing, where we itemize all the special benefits and show what their allocations are. This will come back with a zero in the first public hearing in September.
Let me
For
ask
the
one
bud- for
final.
the budget.
Can I ask one final? And this may be a question for Hamid. Not having the dedicated MSBU set up this year and not having the maintenance plan dedicated funding, what is that going to do for state funding? Do you want to answer that? Does anybody want to answer that?
That's a good question.
I mean, to Ms. Carney's point, the one thing is you keep kicking it down the road. They're asking for that dedicated line.
Well, we can do it with ad valorem taxes. We can put in
I
a
don't think,
fence.
I don't
didn't
think so.
so.
I don't think so.
Not from what I understood. That's why people do it with MSBUs or TDT funds.
We'll do
We
that
could
the
it with
next
TDT.
meeting, next
Well, we
agenda.
are. That's already part of it.
I think we only did it for the 1 year. We didn't, I apologize. Sorry.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hey, sir.
Hamid Tabassian, County Engineer. Did you say what's
Talk-
going to happen to the state funding?
Let me ask you something. Walk me through the dedicated maintenance plan required by the state when they talk about having a dedicated funding for a maintenance plan. You have to have a maintenance plan
Yes,
and to be eligible for the funding. We have to have state funding regardless always to do beach. So tell me about the dedicated funding mechanism they're looking for. Can it be ad valorem? Does it need to be MSBU? Does it have to be codified to say beach?
Yeah.
TDT?
First of all, if I may, there was a lot of discussions here that, today we look at the apple, tomorrow we look at the pear, and these, moving and makes a difference. The 50,000 that we put in this study has to do with the maintenance that is required as part of a beach nourishment permit.
There you go.
Right now, and we have the backup documentation for that. Right now, we got Reach 2 that was designed by our consultant, and we said for the maintaining that Reach 2, should you determine that it needs to move forward and we do construction, we would approximately, based on what the consultant submitted, 50,000 per mile, because we have multiple jurisdictions within that Reach 2. We wanted to know how much is going to be Flagler Beach, Town of Beverly Beach, and the unincorporated area. So, because once that beach nourishment is constructed, we got to do annual survey, monitoring, reporting of not just the beach, but also the borough area. We need to do turtle monitoring. seabird monitoring, reporting, how this project is functioning, progressing. The permitting agency wants to know these information. So that 50,000 is going to cover only what is required by our permit. The funding, long-term funding that was looked at, and Commissioner Carney has 12 million per year for the entire Flagler County coastline in mind. That comes when we have a fully built, nourished beach in place, and we have to have the maintenance funding of that beach in place. So, for example, let's say we build Reach 2 or Reach 1 was built. It was an estimate that every approximately 10, 11 years, either we have an event, either this has to be renourished. And it's more than this maintenance cost that I just told you about. Has to do with actually go and get more sand to keep up with this erosion, and what this is a dynamic situation. So that's where that 12 million came from. Then for the unincorporated area, the 12 million was reduced to 8 million to take care of just the unincorporated area. Then we said, how much of that 8 million we want to apply as a MSBU? And again, we said maximum is going to be 2 million per year. And this is going to be needed continuously to keep up with that renourishment requirement. This is not an exact science.
I don't think I'm asking that. I think
Yeah.
what I was asking was, when you go to the state and you apply for the grants, and they say, they're looking for a dedicated funding source.
Yes, ma'am.
What is considered a dedicated funding source to them? Is our ad valorem considered dedicated? Is it if we put 0.25 to the side of ad valorem? Is it the MSBU that says it's directly for beach? Is it the TDT 2 pennies?
Yes, ma'am.
Which ones do they say, okay, that we consider dedicated funding?
Yes.
Regardless of how much money's in it.
Yes, ma'am. And my apologies, but the
No.
discussion, I thought
I know, it's a
maybe
little all
I
over the
could
place.
help to shed light on what was
Like,
being
when you go to
discussed.
them, what do they say,
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
that checks the box for being dedicated? What is that we were
I
missing?
believe the funding that you are referring to has to do with the local government funding request that is for the critically eroded beaches. And that maintenance funding that every year comes up, and there is right now application that we are submitting for the critically eroded, that the maximum the FDEP contributes 50%. The local share doesn't matter whether you get it from TDC, from general funds, from MSBU, day one, 50% for example, Reach 1. This maintenance that we have to do and is required, they would fund 50% of it. Should we submit an application and it's passed? So to answer your, again, question, doesn't matter where it comes from. Isn't that right? I just want to make sure.
Previously, it was, when the Ansley was here, it was MSBU, TDT were dedicated sources that, okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, any questions for Hamid?
No.
Clear as mud? Okay. So right now, the consensus is to set it at 0 and allow for it to be paid out of ad valorem for this year. All right? Anyone else?
Well, it can also come out of TDC, right?
Yeah, the additional penny. Well, what are we doing for beach this year? We're doing,
We only voted that in for one time,
One
which
time.
was for last year. 1111 can be used for beach renourishment. I don't know if it can be used
Yeah, he's got.
for monitoring or not.
We get 1 penny is for beach nourishment. We have that. Every year, we have that.
Right, but she's talking about the 2 penny, right?
Well, we didn't up to 2. We can, but we have
We
not.
did for last year.
For
We
last
took-
year,
we
right.
took-
But we could do that every year, but we haven't done that yet.
Yeah. All right, Ms. Carney, it looks like the consensus is to stay at 0.
Fine.
Okay. There you go, sir.
Can that be changed on the 20th?
It can be changed
It's
after
just
the 20th. We
consensus.
won't be having the 20th, correct?
No, yeah, with your action today, we won't have a special meeting on the 20th.
Right. And it will be 0 for this upcoming tax year.
Right.
And then it can be readdressed for the following year.
Yep.
But I could see this going either way. So for maintenance, but we'll talk about how to fund it out of the budget. All right, moving on to fiscal year. Sir, if you want to hang out just after we get through the next presentation, sir. Thank you. The fiscal year 27 tentative budget.
The board is asked today to receive the administrator's tentative budget and to set the maximum millage rate. This budget can be cut, but cannot increase once the maximum millage rate is set. Following today's workshop, the board will need to hold a special meeting to consider the proposed millage rates and to set the date, time, and place of the first public hearing. As part of the special meeting, Mr. Eichinger with the Office of Management and Budget will walk the board through the next step in the process. And with that bit of an intro, I'm pleased to present the tentative budget for the fiscal year 2027. This budget reflects our continued commitment to responsible stewardship of public funds, alignment with our strategic priorities and specifically with the strategic plan, and investment in the core services that matter most to our residents. It supports public safety, infrastructure, quality of life, while once again reducing the millage rate for the 6th consecutive year. Go to the next slide, please.
Before we move on, could we just clarify that a reduction in the millage rate is not a tax decrease? Can we agree to that? Is
Yes.
Mr.
It's not
Gardner
a
still
tax
here?
cut. It's not a
It is
tax
not a tax cut. We're going to agree to that. Okay, thank you.
So the meeting dates that have brought us to this point, you see those displayed here on the slide. And this budget is a result of the thoughtful guidance provided by the board throughout the year, and not just on these dates. We do have our board policies and funding priorities that are set in January. We have our schedule as part of our kickoff that we review as part of our kickoff packet. Certainly there's amendments throughout the year, workshops that are added or removed from that schedule. At all times, we've welcomed public input at multiple stages of this process, ensuring transparency, community involvement. The series of budget workshops and meetings concluded on June 16th, helping to shape a fiscally responsible plan that reflects both board priorities and resident needs. Next slide. And so we've got here, I think these are our next dates coming up. And so key upcoming dates in the budget process include today's presentation of the tentative budget and the setting of millage rates. The first public hearing is scheduled for September 2nd. Apologies, I think earlier I had referenced the 3rd, if I had done that during the regular meeting, followed by the final public hearing and adoption of the fiscal year 27 budget on September 14th. Bear with me. So our highlights that we have, the countywide budget's balanced, the 8.0906 mils, which represents a decrease of 0.0894 mils from fiscal year 26. The general fund millage rate will generate $141 million, a 3.96 increase over fiscal year 26. BOCC departments had, with this budget, 2.3% COLA increases, We have no increase for the employee or the employer with the health insurance program costs. While we did adjust for the, I think for the plan, both individual and family rates, an increase in your deductible, your calendar year deductible, in order to keep that zero there. Total expense budget, including judicial, is $87,318,981, a decrease of $5.1 million, a 5.56% decrease over fiscal year 26. We have a decrease of 8.25 FTEs in the general fund and 5 FTEs in non-general fund. And then sheriff and constitutional officers, the total expense budget for the sheriff's $51.97 million, an 8.17% increase over fiscal year 26, includes our 4 new deputies that we had agreed to with that agreement from a couple of years back. Other constitutional officers combined total expense budgets total $16.89 million, 4.45% increase over fiscal year 26. This budget is balanced. It represents our 6th consecutive year of millage decrease, with an overall decrease then of 0.0894. That's that rate I talked earlier about. And we do have the FTEs if you need to know what specific departments those reductions happened in. But that total decrease between the two, 13.25 FTEs, was our reduction in staffing. And again, that was not an easy thing and will not be an easy thing going forward. There are service impacts and adjustments that had to be made in order to have those positions be removed from our roles. Next slide, please. One such item that we talked about was the household hazardous waste closure. We've had a lot of hand-wringing on this. This is a service that's provided county-wide. We don't ask anyone who comes to provide their driver's license, tell us where they're from, but the collection site is on Old Kings Road. It is something that we're intending to close as part of this budget. Last day for the drop-off would be September 15th, 2026. It will cease operations as we have proposed September 30th, 2026. We will shift then to a drop-off location that's run by Waste Pro, 401 South Bay Street in Bunnell. There will be acceptable items or your typical household hazardous waste, paint, tires, light bulbs, oil, pool chemicals, insecticides, pesticides, batteries, e-waste, your TVs, computers, fire extinguishers. Different from what we presently provide, unacceptable items will now include fuel, both regular gasoline and diesel and propane tanks. Costs that are there per drop-off, $25 per drop-off, and they can drop off up to 10 gallons of liquid waste, again, not including fuel. $10 per car tire, $50 per semi-tire. And what this does is this also avoids somewhere around about a $200,000 capital expense that we were facing if we chose to continue to operate the household hazardous waste site at its location. So not just the ongoing expense from a standpoint of personnel and our ultimate disposal of these materials. What we do is we collect them and then they're hauled away by a third-party vendor. What we have proposed, and it's not reflected on this slide, is that we can offer a series of amnesty days. We've estimated these to be somewhere around $20,000 per year for this, and so we would have effectively maybe 1, 2, 3 times a year where we would open the Old Kings Road site as a collection point and have it where residents could come then and dispose of those materials. And on a free basis, the county would effectively subsidize the disposal of those wastes. And again, that would be based on the amount of material that's provided in those amnesty days. You may have heard about a tire, I think a waste tire, similar operation. And certainly if there's grant money out there, we would pursue the grant money for this. But we feel that this is the best option available for us to avoid that capital expense. It's a pie chart of our revenue sources by category, and that's based on that total budget, $333 million and change. You can see the lion's share there, 43.44% coming from property taxes. And that's budgeted at 95%, yielding $145 million in revenue.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Adam. Back to the hazardous waste for just a minute. Has there been any communication with Palm Coast and other municipalities about how to handle residents? Will they all be going to Waste Pro or?
They would all be able to go to Waste Pro. We haven't had, we've had some very indirect conversations with them. And in fact, they've been waiting for us to make a decision on this and make this public because we've had some public media pieces that we wanted to put out about household hazardous waste, and this would change that setup with what I just reported to you today.
Okay.
With us switching to Waste Pro.
And the employees that are in that department, they will be realigned?
They will be realigned. We have one retirement that's anticipated. The remaining three would still have jobs with the county. They would be absorbed into existing vacancies in general services.
All right, thank you, sir.
Can I add on to that discussion before we move on? So right, I see the amnesty days as being part of our annual calendar almost, to where it's well publicized and everybody gets to mark those days down. But I would pursue some type of interlocal with the city of Palm Coast, because this is a much more manageable cost than sharing our staff, helping pay for us staffing that facility. But I would pursue at least some type of interlocal where we joint share in the amnesty day itself. It would be a much more economical alternative.
I'd be happy to approach them with that. Yes, sir. And this is the pie chart on the total expenses side. And you've heard us talk about the reserves before. And so this has that $112 million in reserves that's there, the 33.57% of our expenses. And common misconception here is reserves are spent annually, and they're not. That's that fund that we maintain that the board has approved at the 3/12 level through the strategic plan. That's there for hurricanes. That's there for our avoidance of our tax anticipation notes each budget year. And so that then, as we're looking forward with the fiscal year 2027 budget, that's sitting at $112 million. General government expenses at $36 million, 10.87% of the budget. And you can see the minor amount there for debt service, 2.16%, just over $7 million.
I have a question, Adam.
Yes, ma'am.
Cultural recreation, what does that cover?
It should be, if I'm remembering right, that should be our I think within that's our parks. I think that's definitely got our parks in there. Should also be the source, I believe, for our thank you, bailing me out. Isn't it our nonprofits that we share the?
Right, I can share financial services. That also includes the library. So culture, parks, and the library are your two biggest parts of culture.
Libraries?
Yep. And library impact fees, because remember, this is the county-wide. So this is not just
the parks.
Park impact fees, parks, all of that.
Brian, grants to nonprofits that we have annually.
So the nonprofits would likely be under human services.
Okay.
Just by the nature of the department.
We did that last time. Public assistance is under human services. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, I should say in the mic.
Bail me out, as always. This table provides a snapshot of the 2027 balanced budget. And what this is intended to show, very much the same information, but just in a table format, giving you a clear view of the projected revenues and expenditures, so that revenues on the left side, expenditures on the right. And again, by statute, we have to balance. And so that shows you those two. Any questions on this?
This is the totals?
This is.
So what percentage did we cut? How much of a percentage did we cut from last year's budget is my question. I
don't think I could point at any one of these other than what I had already mentioned to you. Let's see, back here on,
5%?
yeah,
I'm sorry,
this
I
one right
didn't see
here.
it.
Yeah, the
Where is that?
5.56% decrease in your total expense
I
budget.
see it now.
5
Thank you.
million.
And you notice we reduced and the constitutionals did not.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
For the
yeah.
record, I did not say that.
I was going to say, I thought there was a
Oh,
consensus up here to
they
talk
captured
about.
my voice. Don't worry, Adam.
Yes,
They
yes, ma'am.
captured the voice.
Yes,
Don't
ma'am.
worry.
Well, I don't remember us, I don't know.
Well, we have some notes from that meeting that we had.
Yeah.
Save that
But
if you don't mind. I'll run through a couple more slides, and
Yeah,
I
but
think
we don't-
save that if you can.
We
We'll
didn't
give you
actually give
instruction.
him a number.
Next one, please. Thank you. So this has our tentative budget by fund, and again, that bottom line, $333 million and change. And so you've got the general fund being the lion's share here, $216 million, 64.9%. You've got these other items that are listed are debt service funds, special revenue funds. Remember, we've got funds that are out there that are not part of the general fund. And so that's more than anything else, this is what this provides to you, is that graphic. By showing you in the pie chart format, it shows you the bulk of this is general fund. We do have other funds that are out there as part of your budget, non-general funds. Next slide, please. And then this shows tentative budget property tax revenue for property taxes, $145 million, and then the millage rates that are there with our total millage at 8.0906. The pie chart demonstrating that amount of revenue generated by the corresponding millage rates. And so that table there in the bottom, the table format, pie chart goes along with that.
Adam, on the ESL, did you, when you were doing this, did you confirm what year it's sunsetting?
20, is it next year?
28.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, 28.
Yep,
Coming up.
it's the last.
And you can see here with that, we're retiring,
And
I think
if
that's this year, the
clarify,
ESL debt.
it doesn't sunset. It can be renewed. It just doesn't automatically sunset.
Through referendum,
You
yes,
have
sir.
to do a referendum again?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
This has a comparison of your ad valorem 26 versus 27. And so it's allocated between operating expenses and your debt service is what you're seeing here. And so the change in the right-hand side between showing both the amount change and the percentage change.
So you cut 5 million out of the general fund. You cut 5,
It's an increase in the general fund operating,
but there's an increase.
yes.
I thought you said you cut 5
They had
million.
a 5% reduction in budget.
On the previous slide, it was
That wasn't general fund.
not general fund.
No.
Can you go back?
Brian Eckinger, Financial
Hi, Brian.
Services. General fund also includes the constitutional officer, so you got to take both pieces of it. The general fund BOCC departments did decrease by the $5 million. We also have things like the CRAs, the medical examiner, and the constitutional officers, so they're all together in the general fund.
The BOCC cut, the constitutionals did not.
Correct. And then the CRA payments, which we have no control over, and the medical examiner also went up. So you got to bring them all together.
But our single-handedly, our departments that we oversee in our budget
went down.
went down.
5.56%, correct.
Thank you. 5 million.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
So you go to the next slide. Yeah. And so this was what I had asked for with this one is to show kind of I think we called it before the proportionality, the percentage If we were to do an allocation of any increase, then how would that look if we were to say as the proportion of the overall general fund budget, how would we allocate that? And so this is from the fiscal year 26. Fiscal year 27 numbers weren't much different. BOCC was with this. Actually, it is different. It's 55.86%. We of course went down. Sheriff went up 33.24%. Property appraiser stays basically level, 2.48%. Tax collector at 3.35%. Clerk at 3.11%. SOE at 1.87%. Judicial down at 0.1% is how those match up. And so the idea there, which didn't happen, but I wanted to share it with you, is if we were to tie everyone to that, what would that look like? This is how that breakdown would look if we were basing it on 26 numbers, and then 27, we didn't follow this in the next year, in the upcoming year, just as we reported. We cut, the constitutionals did not.
But put this together so you can see the comparison would be helpful.
You do that.
Side by side.
I wanted to avoid that graphically.
That's, I don't think we have that issue.
Next slide, please. And then this shows general fund revenues by category, of property taxes being the largest component. That's your big blue one there, again, 141, 65%. Next slide, please.
Oh, that hurts.
Pie chart displaying the fiscal year 27 tentative budget, general fund expense by function. So your BOCC departments, remember what we had said there, 87 million, so that's got your reduced amount there, the $5 million reduction. Next slide, please. Pie chart of our reserves. This total includes approximately 16.4 million of funding that has been advanced to other funds. Yeah, this is just reserves, sorry. Maybe I said that. Next slide, please. And so this one graphically, gives you the idea of what we're facing. You had heard from Mr. Eichinger about the two expenses we have: CRA, medical examiner hitting a little late for us. They had some extra expenses that we did not anticipate, but because of our cost share arrangement with St. John's and Putnam, that we are holding to that. It's a bit of a surprise, but it's necessary equipment, capital expenses for them, but CRA here having a bump here of just shy of $3.5 million. And I think that medical examiner expense, I think, was $1 million, if I remember correctly, or right around that. And so those were...
What was, I know we had them a bump last year because we were building a new building. What is it this year? They added somebody.
It's X-ray equipment specifically, and then we're having, there's also, I think, some additional space that they're needing for that, and they held a justification. We've got an option as they've laid it out. We've got a initial expense, then we've got an ongoing expense for several years. I think they've given us a payment plan, and we could just as well potentially pay that out of reserves and avoid some interest fees. So we'll be talking about that some more with them when we get a little bit more specific into that. But if I'm remembering correctly, I think it was $1 million hit this year. I may be wrong, but I think that's what it was.
We do that with Putnam and St. John's, correct? Yeah. And we don't have the opportunity to price that out with Volusia or...
Well, they did ask us this year if we wanted to do our own, and so that is the option for us, and we declined that. But and the rates are based on it's a service. I think it's the number of deaths is how the morbid math is done, but it's the number of deaths, I think, in the immediate preceding fiscal year.
It's very uncontrolled cost.
I made some
Just
bad,
doesn't seem,
bad humor. I said, go across the line to the county line, maybe into Volusia to,
no.
not that funny, tough crowd.
It just, hopefully this is the end of the surprise capital costs that continue to occur.
We hope so. Yes, ma'am. Next slide. This is part of our CIP. This is where we've talked about capital preservation and some highlights here that we've talked about. We've had these in Fund 1187 that have been, most of those at the top you're not going to be surprised by, but then the energy plant replacement, chillers 1 and 2, that's one that's unique to this year. It's a need. We have to do that. And that government complex GSB exterior painting, I think that's also necessary to move forward with that. Then you can see then the cost share with Fund 1311 for the chiller replacement. And so that's something we've got to get done.
So out of $58 million, our capital preserves is only 5 million, 6 million?
I think we've only had that 1187 being the dedicated, the 2 million in prior years. And so that, this, with the exception of the half-cent sales tax, 1311 going into the energy plant replacement, we would only have 2 million this year.
But that's nothing based on a budget of $70 million. This is all we have that we need to preserve?
No, ma'am. No, we have, I think it's 80, probably every bit of 80 million in unmet needs. I think was maybe a little high on that, but.
Preservation. We just set a
doesn't make
number on it
sense.
and do X amount every year. That's because you're funding the beach and everything else with what we
Yes, ma'am.
typically fund the.
Very limited in the capital projects we can complete. Next slide, please. It's basically
Madam Chair.
the major priorities end up getting funded.
On the exterior painting, does that include the gutter repairs?
It does not. And so we've talked about roof replacement, and we need to get a good estimate on that. We've had a discussion as part of this budget. We pushed that off until next year, but the roof replacement along with gutter repair would be a combined need, and that also needs to be done. We figured we'd do the painting first and then come back with the roof.
A little bit, yeah.
I'm sorry. I
Roof-
think of
roof's gonna be a-
construction, I have an idea about that. Rain goes down.
Sure.
So we're going to clean the body, and then we're going to fix the hair. That's just the opposite of what normally would be done. Am I out of line on that, or am I in? I mean, why wouldn't we fix the gutters first if there's gutter leaks all over?
The problem is the rust associated with the gutter
So
leaks.
they need replacement.
They do.
It's the roof. It's a major expense.
Of course it is.
It exceeds exterior painting.
But that's not the reason to do.
That's not why you do the painting.
General Services is advising, that's the end result of General Services? Are they the one painting it?
No.
Or
no,
we're outsourcing it?
we'd hire a contractor to do the exterior painting.
Doesn't make sense.
See this? Oh, whatever. How much is the roof?
What do we say? We were over $1 million. I think we were on the conservative side when we said $1 million. That I would guesstimate probably closer to $2 million by the time we got done.
Well, why don't we do the?
High.
But why don't we do the roof this year and do the painting next year?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Because we have to do ADA every year. We have to do the chillers. If you go back to that slide, there are some things on there that we have got to continue.
We had
HVACs.
300.
Yeah. We're trying to get a bunch of HVAC and roof replacement done everywhere, so we always dedicate.
Oh, exterior
piece
painting's
out
only
in ADA, so
$350,000.
$2 million is the amount that you have every year.
Okay.
And so we fill that gap, the 352, with the painting is the dollar amount that's the closest that we had to spend the remainder. We could go to other items and spend the 352, but we figured that matched up as close as we could to what
But we
that
can't
was.
reserve it for next year to, after the roofs could be done?
We hope to be able to have the funding next year. Every year we
We
put
can't,
things
we
back.
can't use this 352 next year, it has to be
No,
this
no,
year?
yeah, next year you'll have 2 million again. You'll have 2 million, well, but remember, out of that, you'll have the same 150, have the same 300,000 that's HVAC replacement, roof replacement, ADA projects that's ongoing. That's just our continual replacement on those first three, the 300,000 out of the 2 million.
The chillers are more important.
I'm not
priority-wise
talking
than the
about that.
cost.
If you could
This
just send
year.
us clarity on the roof, the roof estimate, and maybe what the next year, right? The second and third year out capital plan.
Well, we can't debt service at the roof? We can't debt service the roof?
We could, yeah, I don't.
No?
I don't.
It's not causing
I
enough
don't-
problems yet,
I
huh?
don't think we do.
We'll wait till it falls in.
Well, okay, where are we at on our budget reserves? We've got to be close to 312s by now, are we not? So are we still we're gonna hit 312s,
Yes.
right,
yeah,
this year?
Yes.
So that's our goal, so we'll be freeing up funds.
Hesitant to pull into that, just.
Is this building insured, or is this one of our self-insured buildings?
Yeah, we should be insured with this one.
It's insured?
Yes.
So we got a roof. How old's the roof?
Building was built in 2005.
And our insurance company does not requesting that we replace our roof at 20 years?
No, 21.
21 years? You're lucky you can even get a policy on this building. Well, whatever you can find for 350 that's not painting the exterior of this building until we can get the funding for the roof and the gutters, that's a waste of money.
Yeah.
Do the carpeting in the tax collector's office.
We have the money for that in current fiscal year, is what we were asking for.
Oh.
We'll bring that back.
We can't put this in a reserve, this 352.
We can.
No, we have other needs.
We have other needs. We'll just
yeah.
find another project.
We'll find
that's all.
another place.
You don't want the painting, that's all right. We can delay that.
This doesn't make sense.
The next slide we've got talks about how much a mill generates. And so you usually have this come up. And so then you can see there what the breakdown is. And so when we start talking about beach and dedicated funding and similar thoughts, single mill equates to just shy of $18 million. And that's based on that revenue generated at 95% rate. Next slide. And so what we're facing then with proposed millage rates for 27 and what we've offered to you is an operating millage at 7.9945. And that collectively, this represents a slight reduction of 0.0894 mils from the previous year and our sixth consecutive year of millage reduction. As you can see there, comparison between fiscal year 25-26 and 26-27. And you can see the reason for that's primarily the voted debt service levy that we're able to reduce that down. Next slide, please. And so what we have moving forward then, if you want to go with our proposed rate, that would require a simple majority of a vote of the board. That's 3 members to adopt a millage rate of 7.9945. That'd be adopted today in our special meeting as the maximum millage rate. We could not then exceed that in any future process. Our September 2nd first hearing would align with that maximum. You can go down, you cannot go up. You can see the rollback rate. If you want to adopt the rollback rate a little higher, simple majority is required. If you want to go 110% above the rollback rate, 8.8054, that requires a 2/3 vote, supermajority of 4 or more. And then to go above that 8.8054 would be a unanimous vote. And this is at change in statute that happened, I think it was in Chapter 200, so, of Florida statute. Any questions on this slide?
So your proposed rate is 7.99?
Yes, ma'am, 7.9945. Always 4 digits is what you have to
And
have
that
on these.
gives you how much revenue?
You want to go back to that?
$332 million?
333, is he saying?
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so in 141 for 26, 145 for 27, right?
Yes, because this includes your debt service.
And that's 7.99
7.9945 is your general fund operating, your 2 debts.
will get you to
the
145,005.
Not the 7.99, the 145 is the 8 point, see which one, inclusive of the debt.
Oh, all right, so that'll get you.
All right, folks, come on up, Brian.
Come on,
eight-
come on up,
We got
Brian.
this Friday night. We did not get
8.09,
this
8.0906
last week, unfortunately, so we've not met with
is your
staff
voted
on
debt
it.
service.
So the operating millage is the general fund millage and the ESL operating.
Right.
That's the 7.9945.
Then you gotta add in
That
ESL
is how rollback rate is calculated. The debt service millage is not included in a rollback calculation because it was voted and approved for by the voters for non-operating purposes.
It's flat.
So it excludes the 0.961 if you were in a rollback.
Brian, roll back again, can you, I'm sorry. Bring that roll back on again, please. What?
Gotcha.
Go ahead.
So your rollback rate is only calculated on your operating millage, so general fund and the ESL operating. So the 0.0961 that's for debt service is not included in that. So that last slide when we were looking at the votes we need to do more than the rollback rate, it's only the 7.9945, not the 0.0961 in addition to. So you're going from, I think, 8.18 aggregate millage down to 8.0985, I think. So it is an overall decrease, but that doesn't get calculated in rollback rate because it's only the 7.9945, which is the general fund and ESL operating.
And the rollback rate will give us the same amount of revenue as we had last year based on this year's home values.
Correct. And because of the odd valuation, that's why it's higher this year. We're actually below rollback rate by doing 7.9945.
This year's an anomaly because of the valuation.
Okay.
But none of the constitutional budgets were touched. They remain whole,
Well,
even
we
though
can-
we had had some issues
No,
or
I don't think
questions.
the county should have to absorb 5 million. I mean, why can't we, can we reach out to them? Did anybody, when, last time we met, clerk of court said, we'll be in touch with you. Has there been any communication whatsoever? Why do we have to absorb the whole 5 million? Why doesn't somebody else have to do anything?
We talked about that. We did also talk, probably the biggest discussion was about our COLA and merit plans.
Right.
And so when we chose not to fund the $500,000 more or less for merit in the coming year, that they had come back and said they would likewise follow us and have a 2.3% COLA and no merit. Beyond that, there were really not any other substantive discussions that I recall. The constitutionals were aware of what we were doing as far as our attempts to cut our budget.
I didn't think that there was consensus with all the constitutional budgets.
There wasn't.
And that's just if property values continue to decline, we're allowing constitutionals to add FTE, some of it without justification, and large increases this year while we're doing cuts. I mean, including merit. Yet we're allowing for constitutionals with no, here's our studies, here is our proof that we need X amount of FTE. None of that exercise was done. And I thought from I took away from that meeting that we were all not in alignment with some of the discussions had on some of the constitutionals. And then we wanted or assumed that some of that would not be supported.
So if we don't support this millage rate, we could technically not impact the constitutionals at all. Can we be specific as to the constitutionals' budgets, or do we just accept it and take the hit ourselves? I mean, why are we having to absorb the entire hit?
So my take on this, and I'll look to Brian to back me up when I get all this wrong, would be that, you're setting the maximum millage, you can decrease more. And so you can do adjustments downward, inclusive of the.
But I wouldn't want to do that without talking to them.
Right.
I mean, if we set it and everybody's happy, right? What's going to motivate them to take any extra cutting to reflect what we're willing to do?
So Adam's correct. We're going to set a not to exceed amount. This was Adam's attempt to give you the budget that he, as part of the tentative. We heard your discussions about the merit pay, so we went back and asked them to reduce their merit down to nothing to match ours. They matched our COLA at 2.3%. So we do have those adjustments in here. You can set today's millage rate at what we've proposed and give direction to Adam to negotiate decreases from the constitutional officers. That's more than acceptable.
Okay.
If you needed more specifics, like, I'm just going to make it up, that you didn't want to add one deputy, you could give that specific direction to Adam and he can try to have negotiations. Or we can have another workshop with the constitutionals where you can have more dialogue. It's really just up to how you guys want to handle it. Or you could just take a blanket approach and say, if property values went up 3.96%, that's what I want to see from your budgets instead of anything above that. Any multitude of ways you can go. It's just how much more dialogue or direction you can provide.
I mean, we're scrapping 13 FTE merit in other areas, but we didn't even remotely get to talk about, what we, and we know that we're going to have some sort of continuation of values probably decreasing, looks like it. I don't know what reform looks like. I'm hesitant to add a lot of FTE on in other areas. In fact, we should also have that discussion about what we should be adding in FTE this year. Since we're cutting 13 roles to begin with, we need to be careful with adding back FTE so that you don't get yourself in a situation next year where you're having to let people go or anything if the values continue to decline. So you can certainly propose whatever you'd like to propose, but that's how we've done it in the past here, as I recall. Don't touch I remember specifically, don't touch the COLA, don't touch the healthcare, negotiate with so-and-so or look at this. So I did think that we were very specific, or there was going to be more discussions around in depth around the sheriff's budget and around the clerk budget and the FTE.
When's our next, do we have or can you put the schedule up that shows our budget meetings coming?
The next one's 8/3, August 3rd, and then if we need it, 8/17. And again, as needed if anything comes up in between.
Yeah, you could effectively schedule another workshop that's not one of those, either the 3rd or the 17th. By the time we get to September 2nd, that's
Right.
when we're tight then. We have to have our first reading and adoption on the budget at that time.
And because of newspaper advertising requirements, we really look for you to be done by the 17th. Awesome if we could be on the 3rd, but realistic. We just have to have such a fast turnaround to get it published in time, so.
Okay, thank you. Thoughts, questions, public comment? Okay, I'll open up this item for public comment. If you'd like to approach and give your name, we have 3 minutes to talk specifically about the tentative budget.
Good afternoon, Richard Hamilton. Very specific budget on the ESL millage rate. When we approved that in 2008, we voted and approved 0.25%, 0.25 mil. Subsequently, some of that was reassigned to debt service. What I see now on these charts is the debt service piece is going away instead of being reallocated back into the overall 0.25%. So you're not funding the whole 0.25%. So where has that bit gone? If you don't need it for debt service anymore, but why not put it back into the regular ESL fund, even though it's 1 more year to go? That's all I wanted to ask.
Thank you, sir. Any questions on the budget?
Steve Davis in Painters Hill. How much is earmarked for beach management in the budget that's being discussed? A couple years ago it was 5 million. Last year I think it was 5.7. What is earmarked in this?
Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Brian, do you have any answer on the ESL that I'm not familiar with?
So it was county administrator discussion or direction to decrease the millage. So when you didn't need as much to pay down the debt, decrease millage to help bring down people's tax bills. It could have been shifted to ESL operating. The negative to doing that affects your rollback rate, as we were just talking about. So the county would have had a rollback rate even greater than what it had previously been. And then for beach funding, it's a flat budget from last year, the current year to the next year, $8 million, roughly 3.5 coming from the general fund, 3.5 from the half-cent sales tax, and like 800,000 from TDT.
About 8 mil. All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Brian, I think that TDT was basically 1 penny, right?
One time,
Yep.
yeah, 1 penny. Okay. So this budget's based on 1 penny for this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Are we going to?
I'm okay with rollback, or a decrease. I don't know how to get to the constitutional side of it. And I guess that would have to fall on you, Adam.
Well, we can give direction. I mean, what I'm thinking of is we have the, maybe at a workshop, the first one in August is to ask them, one, Adam can give them how the county, philosophy on the budget, on what we did. Ask them to revisit and see if there's efficiencies similarly that the county did. And if they, have the opportunity to come back and re-present on August 3rd. I think the public is looking for the same efficiencies that we've built in to be across the board. And it's cooperative. I don't think we want to be heavy-handed in And because we work day to day with all of them, so it needs to be a cooperative discussion. But it's out there now what the county is doing.
If I could offer a suggestion, that I think we had, my opinion, maybe too much discussion at the Constitutionals workshop when they made their presentation about positions and COLAs and merit, and none of which should particularly matter to us. They should have a budget that is approved, that within which they live by their means. And so that if you're considering something at this point, don't be thinking of an FTE reduction as much as maybe a percentage reduction, something that's easier for us to quantify. If they can live within their means at a reduced rate that you would like to have us go back and approach them with for that reduction as a percentage, I'll deliver that.
Well, based on millage rate and revenue, if we looked at a 0.1, so we're looking at 7.89 instead of 7.99? Is that it's gonna give everybody heartburn, right?
Are you trying to do in addition to the 0.08 that we're already going down?
Taking away.
Okay, so it'd be like a 0.02. So we're already cutting 0.08 from the aggregate millage rate. So I'm
0.08?
Yeah, I think it's 0.0849.
Okay.
It's on the staff report. So would you be looking to just get to 1/10 of a mil reduction overall, or?
No, in
Okay,
addition.
okay.
So it's 0.2. 0.1849. I'm willing to vote in the 199, the 799, but ideally, right?
No, I
Well,
think
that's
it's
the
just a much
maximum.
more
We can always
painful
go
year
down.
next
Can
year.
always go
at the rate
down.
you're
So
going
what I'm
here.
saying is, taking the reverse of all this, because we're reversing everything. But if you start at 7.99 and ultimately would like another 0.1, right? 0.01 is equal to $179,000. What's that going to do for us?
Nothing for the public. It's not real tax relief.
It's not. So our incremental increase this year was like close to 3 million, little under 3 million,
A little higher.
or at 3 million?
Ad valorem was 5 million.
5?
Yes,
Yes.
on our flat millage rate.
Okay.
So it's a 3.96% increase on property values, which generated like 5.3 million.
Okay. So we gave up, we're willing to give that 5.5 million to the constitutionals.
Yes.
Not all of it, but yes, I get your
Not
point.
all of it. Explain why it's not all of it.
CRA payments and the medical examiner were the big increases that were outside of our control.
Examiner's $1 million.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so
All right.
there are a large majority, but it's not all 5.
Right. So in order for us to be at rollback, or in order for us to give back the taxes revenue generated by additional home values in Flagler County, we would have to give back $5 million.
So we're actually below rollback this year because of the weirdness in valuation.
Okay.
So your increase is almost primarily related to new construction.
My
So
what?
Rollback is
your-
an
your-
increase. It will increase taxes.
Yeah, so
what
we're
valuations?
offering, sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
We're offering 7.9945. The rollback rate would be 8.049. So we're actually lower than rollback
Okay.
by 0.13%.
I just think the point is you can't have everything continue to grow exponentially in the midst of tax reform and valuations dropping and that you should be effectively asking everyone to make cuts. It's not going to get better next year, or is it?
All right, so we're not going to vote on this until the special meeting, right?
Correct.
Correct.
You need to be done by the 17th. So that
But
gives Adam
Special
roughly
meeting
one.
special meeting is tonight.
Is
Oh,
after
tonight,
this.
sorry,
It's
yeah,
right now,
well,
right
that's
after
correct, right, but that's why we're talking about, we're going to have our special meeting, and we're going to set the rates, and it can only go down from there.
Not to exceed.
And so, but the direction would be to Adam to, on, you know, whether it bring back in constitutional, specific constitutional for more questions, so that we can make a determination how we can get them in line, so that the valuation, the growth of their budgets, how we can look at that. And that's not every constitutional,
No.
by the way. So that's not the point of the exercise, but we've got to start having those conversations, you know, that the expectation is, you know, we can't be the only ones cutting or, you know, keeping our budget within reason. So,
Does
so we
anyone
can-
know the outcome of Palm Coast and the sheriff? Didn't he not present there a while back?
They don't have an outcome yet. I did.
Sheriff's
follow-
presenting tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Sheriff's presenting tomorrow.
So we're looking for what they're doing with their deputy FTE. So go ahead, Mr. Dancy.
Yeah,
sir.
I don't know if we've got the ability, we can do all this on August 3rd, but maybe some additional information comes, right? This is Adam's proposed budget based on all the conversation. Wherever we take it now is board direction. So I think a little clarity on the priorities where some of them are going, because if you further want to cut, it's just, he needs to know where you want to cut it from. So at this point, he's funded based on all of our conversations, beach nourishment, the money going to beach. If you want to lower and continue to cut, tell him to take the money out of the beach or any other pot of money. But he needs now to hear from us on what we're proposing, because this is his proposed budget based on our past discussions. So all you have to do is between now and August 3rd, tell him additionally, but we would need additional, I think a little bit
Well,
additional information.
he can't cut Constitutional's budget.
No.
That's a negotiation.
It
That's
is.
not a cut.
You can ask him to look
Right.
for that.
Right.
To make some request.
Right.
And then the other thing is, and I didn't hear anybody talk about it, are we staying at 1 penny for the tourism this year towards the beach?
Well, we've always got Fund 1111, right? That's the beach renourishment. We've always got that. It's the other cent that is going into 1109, the capital fund, right?
Correct. Yeah, so
And how much does that generate?
somewhere in the 800 to 900,000 range.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so current year budget is 2 pennies in the beach, and then we're
Last
going
year's budget, but not this, or this
current
year's
year,
rather,
and
but
then,
not.
Yeah, what we're talking about today is.
And
going
don't we
back
have to
one.
ask the tourism board for a recommendation on that? And they're meeting in October. I don't think they're meeting
August.
before. Oh, they're meeting in August, okay. All right. I get no problem with that, asking again.
Well, I believe this is, honestly, we've just had this long discussions about MSBU and funding. We should be, and everyone is in agreement, it feels like that every avenue that we have availability to fund the beach, we should be pulling from, period. That's close to $1 million that sits out there. And so I think we should have the conversation again this year
I do too.
toward the
That's
extra
fine.
penny. So is there a consensus to at least to have Adam and the TDT have that discussion?
Well, that penny does not affect what we're doing today.
No, but they're meeting in August, and I think it does affect the overall.
Correct. You know, just
Yes.
going along with Commissioner Dance's point, if you say got the other penny, you could in theory reduce the 0.2 of a mil the general fund's putting in for the beach down to the equivalent of
Where the
800,000.
reduction for Adam
But
would
then
come
Instead of
from.
the 8 million.
Right.
Right, or you can say, that's $1 million we could put towards roads this year, because my gosh, we're, behind in the road program or fill or whatever. So yes. I just think that this board is not in a position to leave behind the extra penny for the beach. We're not in a position where we can fund from somewhere else for the beach, that we should be taking all the options before we go to the MSBUs and we go to the, and that should almost be a board
Well,
policy.
we already decided we're not doing the MSBU this year, so use the same program as last year.
My goodness. Is there a consensus to have the discussion about the second penny, so they know now? And so they know that that's an option to free up $900,000 in revenue from the general?
Yeah.
We'll put it on as an agenda item in August. That's really all that we can do for the TDC.
And then keep in mind, if we only do one more year, then next year when you want to try to fund back up to that same $8 million, you're going to need to use more of the general fund. So just cognizant of the domino effect.
And then finally, is there a consensus to look at a further reduction for Adam to go and have discussions with certain constitutionals? What is the direction there for further reduction or review of their budget? I mean, this is just me, and I'm just one, but you're going to have a more painful year next year. I just have a feeling, unless we have some enormous amount of growth again, or values miraculously go up. So
I don't know. I heard there were protections for the constitutionals built into the legislation, so.
You heard that?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay. My bad.
I think that's why one of the points of it's not well written. That sort of fell off. But
That's
there
the
is a
scary
lawsuit for it.
about that legislation. If it passes, then they're going to write the rules to implement it. That's what's scary about this.
I didn't think that, I thought when we met with constitutionals, we had our questions, but I would like, and maybe I would like some more discussion and to see what Palm Coast does with deputy funding in that budget, because that is almost the bulk of, it's like 4 million, right? And then also with the clerk, that was a 2 FTE and a $500,000 ask, but I'm sorry, microphone. Well, we did capital improvements there this past year of what, 250,000, 300,000. And so I'm just hesitant on that. And I thought that was the consensus for most people, there was no justification for that. I'm not targeting, but it just came in here as a matter of fact, and there was no, hey, we have an increase in court cases, we have X amount more payments a year, we have X amount more people filing, pages, whatever it is. And there's extra revenue coming this year for the clerk from the Tallahassee. There's an additional.
He said that did not impact his budget, though.
No, not as asked to us. It's shown, it's coming from other areas. I know what he's saying.
I would just like to see them come back and cut. Now, I know the supervisor of election can't cut. I know that the tax collector can't. I mean, that's right.
It's our cost.
That's right.
The assessor's lean.
So I think that Jay is very lean. Jay came in at almost nothing. But I think the clerk and the sheriff probably need to revisit and see if we can't get some type of relief from those two budgets. That would be.
I would just rather be cautious with additional FTE.
Well, both of those departments, both
funding
of those constitutionals, that's what their major increase is people. And here
Well,
we
it's
are
the last
cutting.
year of our agreement with the sheriff's office on the periodic deputies. So, there's a new study coming, but that opens a different window. But, we did commit to a plan with them to get them up to speed for this time period. It starts again with a new study next year.
I would just like to see what Palm Coast does. I think we should meet back with them on 8/3 and decide what the constitutional budgets, if that would be okay. You can't, some people are very good when they provide their budgets. They can attest to, with numbers, statistics, measurements, or they're very lean. Hey, we're only going with, your COLA, the healthcare, blah, blah, blah. Great. Then having a budget come in front of you and saying, I need 3 more people. And not having measures, and I like a measurement. I think all of them should have a measurement if you're adding FTE. I'm adding FTE because 25, 24 had this many recordings and 25, 26 has this or whatever. When you're coming up and it's just $500,000 a year, $500,000 a year capital, it's just constant. There's no way this board can plan for that. And then we take the cuts on our side, just keep taking the cuts on our side. And the projects keep taking the cuts on our side. And the roads keep taking it, and the beach keeps taking it. But everyone's just, I don't think that's sustainable for every, for it. That's just my opinion. But I said that last year. I said that every year. So it's not been something new from Leanne. So I would like to, I think you need to cut, I think we should be cutting more, to be honest with you, so. Guys, but I do believe they should come back in and we can talk through their budgets again.
So when do we get our books? Do we get our books before the budget, before the August 3rd? Do we get the proposed budget?
So it's available now on the website. That was the email link that I sent you Friday afternoon. We don't generally print them.
I want one printed, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to ask that the second penny discussion be added to the TDT upcoming meeting. Will that be before the 17th, Andy?
Can't recall. After.
After.
So
okay.
I guess we can do some contingency planning that when we meet on the 3rd, we can have more discussion on it.
Yeah,
And
we'll take that away as to have that.
Yeah.
And then finally, hi.
Good afternoon, Amy Lukasik. Even though the meeting date's after, keep in mind that Monday isn't allocated to anything. It's just sitting there still collecting, so it's fine.
Okay, appreciate. Thank you, Ms. Cossack. So that'll be portion, and then Adam, if we could have the constitutionals attend the 8/3 workshop to review budget again, I appreciate it. Or is that okay with everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other area that you'd like to see addressed in the budget right
I'd like
now?
to see the book.
Okay, so hopefully you'll have the book. I'm going to move on because we have our other meeting coming up.
Yes.
Everybody's good. And we have to do a special. Yeah.
Now, I have an item.
Number 7, first off, other items for discussion.
Chair, I have an item, if you don't mind. I have a written statement that I'd like to read. I'm reading it mostly because I want to, and number 2, because I have some stamps, just to keep the conversation going. I did not bring this up under item 4 because I did not want to throw us off of the momentum for what we were working on for our potential new administrator. But I have some concerns, and I'd like to put them into the record. I've been struggling with the current situation in administration for a while. We have had 90 days to evaluate how the interim arrangements are working. After reviewing the short list of applicants for administrator, their qualifications, their experience, and the majority of applicants coming from out of state, I would like to ask my colleagues if we could look at an alternative to what we are doing currently. In the past, the county, the city of Flagler Beach, and the city of Palm Coast have contracted with professionals to review and evaluate the current conditions of their organizations. Jerry Cameron served in that role for the county. Palm Coast hired Mark Strobridge for this purpose. I do not see, with the exception of one or two applicants, the one I was thinking of didn't make the short list anyway, of people that are able to evaluate and help move our organization forward. With the current pending referendum in November, the difficulty we are going to have with decreased revenues, I believe we need to fully evaluate our organization. We need an outside look at the inside processes. In my opinion, Adam needs some help with this. The administrator's roles is sometimes overwhelming. Do we have the support we need in the right places? Do we have the fleet program that fits our employees? Have we ever done a desk audit, making sure the right people are in the right places? Organizational management is an art. It is a required function for high-level corporate executives. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting change is what we call insanity. We are not alone in this. Consultants are used by our organization to help us make sound and true analysis with grants, MSBUs, master plans, etc. I believe we need an administrative review of our organization. Someone who can report directly to the board with a specific scope of work and goals and objectives determined by the board and the consultant. Someone neutral with regard to staff and processes. A consultant that will use their understanding of organizational practices to make organizational recommendations to help Flagler County become efficient and effective stewards of taxpayer dollars while serving the needs of our constituents. I get it. We are looking for new leadership. You are probably saying right now that this is a bad idea for us to continue the search. And we can disclose our plan to any of the applicants and see if they want to withdraw, or one or more of the applicants may want the opportunity for this organizational review and may actually welcome it before they get here. That way, they will know what they are walking into. The other option is to put the search on hold and ask Adam to work with the consultant. Adam is not tied to this administrator position. He does not want this assignment permanently. So why not now? I am also proposing the use of the deputy administrator budgeted position for the funding of this consultant. I am struggling, as I said. I cannot fully embrace the organization that we have in place. It is not about who, it is about what. What I don't see working right, what I don't see happening, what I don't understand about inefficient processes. During the application process, Mr. Ray Ritchie put his application in for county administrator. Ray currently serves on 2 of our administrative boards. He contacted me and explained his application was not for the long-term position because he retired many years ago. He put his application in so that we could see his experience and his desire to help. There are several community leaders that want our county government to be better. They have vested interest in our community and in what our community becomes. Mr. Ritchie's application did not make it through screening due to what Michelle Brokaw from HR considered an incomplete application. The 10-year history was while he was retired. So I met with Mr. Ritchie. I met with Adam and Mr. Ritchie. I believe he is a member of our community with the corporate knowledge and experience to work with us as a board to evaluate the current state of our organization. There is this one application that I mentioned that could probably work in this capacity as well. However, her salary requirements are outside of our range, and she would have to be relocating from Texas. I am asking the board for consensus to pull Mr. Ritchie's application and resume and set up a separate workshop or a one-on-one meeting with him for the purpose of establishing an agreement for him to evaluate the current organization and provide recommendations for organizational improvements. His successful business acumen and elected official capacity will provide insight that we need. He can work with our current administrator or be prepared to work with an incoming administrator. Change is difficult. I believe the time is now. Transitioning is the right time to do this evaluation. If I were coming into this organization, I would want a true assessment of really what's happening. I was disappointed that it didn't come through the regular means, through the process, I guess. I'm torn. I don't think we're ready for new administration until we evaluate where we are. We struggled with the budget. We're struggling. In my business knowledge and my organizational experience of organizations and how they work, I think we need help. I think we need I think we need outside help.
Mr. Mingle, did we even keep the budget open for the deputy? Is it factored into the new budget, first of all, for a deputy?
Still have, yes, the FTE position is there. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so it remains
It does.
for this year. I don't even know, I don't know Ray Ritchie well. I know of him. Does anyone, well, I'll bring it to the board first. I mean, do you welcome a consultant to help you while they find a permanent? What would be the overall arching goal, probably to have someone give him?
No, it would actually be someone who reports to the board that does an assessment of the organization. They're not tied to the organization,
Okay.
right? So they're an outside consultant. Just like Taylor Engineering is not tied to our beach. They come in, they evaluate our beach, and they give us a report, right?
And how long are you thinking?
I have no idea. I couldn't even, again, until we combined talk with there's just, I would not want to walk into this. I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Well, I think what
Just
she's
having
saying
somebody
is
new
having
coming in,
someone.
You know,
Is that what you're
it's gonna
saying?
take them a while to get up the learning curve. Some of these people are from Florida, some of them are not from Florida. Does that make a big deal? No. There's just needs to, just to give us efficiencies, time management, we've asked for so many things, and we just can't seem to get it together.
So you mean like a liaison to the board to get the information together rather than stressing staff?
Yeah, they don't report to Adam, they don't, they look, they're with us. We set the scope, we set the contract. There's just so many things in these last 3 months that have come up that I just can't believe we're doing it that way. We're not, it's
like, in theory, you're asking a liaison for the board.
A what?
A temporary liaison to the board of a consultant who could basically get our issues resolved or work on our issues, come back to us with opinions.
Basically, yeah.
And
And the recommendations would the recommendations would not be from more than, I mean, we couldn't implement all of the recommendations. It would have to go to the new administrator for implementation. But at least we have eyeballs telling us what we could or could not be facing. I just think this switchover is not going to be as easy as we think it is. But
I think Mr. Dance, you kind of attempted to go there when we were placing a new person.
You know, deja vu all over again.
Yeah. I mean,
at this point, we've gone to the point of pulling in applicants using their time to, at our request, to become a new administrator for us. I think those are the questions we ask the applicants. I think we find out their take on leadership, and we identify their strengths and weaknesses based on how they can evaluate organizations and transform them. I think it's a step before we need to take, and if this isn't the batch of applicants, then so be it. We continue on, but I'm not at that point yet.
we're looking at 3 months before we get someone. And I look back at that, and I think we should have probably gone with Mr. Dance's suggestion of having an outside person to come in and try to.
I don't think
so
we're
I'm
that far
wondering-
along. I don't think we're that far along the process at this point. And even if we were, it's somebody, I did not see any change agents in, in any of that list. There was no gleaning. I mean, not for nothing else. I mean, I agreed to the guy from Volusia, but what changes he made? I mean, these people, it's just not.
Again, we're dissing applicants that haven't even made it to us
I'm not
yet.
dissing them.
You are.
Why?
No, you're
Why?
I'd be hesitant if I could, Madam Chair. I think I had told you at the beginning of this that please be cautious of our public output because we have to show some cohesion in our direction in order to create a stable landing strip. That's been my goal here. I won't say there haven't been missteps, but at the same time, I'd say that I've done my best to track your consensus as a board, in your direction, and so that I think where that's been clear and unambiguous, I've run with that. When it hasn't been quite as clear, there's been difficulties. I think now you're taking it potentially to a dark place, is what I would say, by effectively usurping a process that you've gone through in order to have something else instated. I'm not saying it's not a bad idea. I'm saying let the administrator be hired and then see where the administrator heads.
I think her idea and your idea are all different ideas.
Right.
Do you remember, Andy, when we had talked about having a volunteer board to look at the budget and things like that? Like maybe at some point we need some sort of someone that reports to the board. I'm not talking about this person. I don't know this person, so I don't want to talk about him. But I'm starting to get the feeling, though, like we're never going to get to where we would like to get on certain issues. It's too difficult sometimes for staff. They have their dailies they got to do. They have the way they've been taught. Sometimes it just takes an outside idea, a person. And now whether your proposal or whatever, it maybe be something we work on just having for a short period of time at some point, particularly, around the budget. Having somebody to come in and help with that, with fresh ideas or whatever. I don't know who that person is or what the qualifications are. I think Adam's thinking it's a person to tell you how to run the organization. I don't think it's that at all.
I was just
Yeah.
borrowing off of what
Yeah,
Vice Chair
I know.
Carney had
I
said.
think it's like we all want different things. I think having a consultant to say, I'm going to take a crack at that.
I think we're back at
Whatever the problem is of the
we've
week.
discussed about having another visioning session, and I really think you ought to wait on your new board to be seated. So I think you've got good timing that's happening here. You've got potentially a new administrator coming on board. You've got a new board that'll be seated. It's time for you to reevaluate your strategic plan. If nothing else, maybe wait until after November until we have a better feeling of what the world is going to hold for us. And then I think then that you should go through an exercise with the new board seated, with the future in mind, and reevaluate, have a visioning, go back through and adopt an updated strategic plan because you'll need to at that point. And then if you need more, I think you can do that. I think that's fair to have someone come in on a process standpoint and help you, because at that point you're in a good position. You've adopted your budget. You brought in the administrator. I don't think these are mutually exclusive steps. You've got the new board seated just by virtue of the voters selecting the new members of the board. And then you're in good timing with the new budget year, because we'll be rolling back into the budget December, January. It'd be great timing.
We had a conversation before you guys came on about, I think it's Brevard or Broward County has a volunteer board of people like this.
And
That
Mr.
St.
Ritchie,
Lucie, but
Mr.
I-
Ritchie served on, it's
Well,
called
I'm almost
Priority
wondering
One.
if we, going back to that same premise, a board that looks at the strategic plan and the budget and finds a way to make things, bring suggestions up.
Well, I think one of the things I was going to later talk about, not today, but I think bring it back up, is when, is that we just, right, the current climate almost dictates that there be more citizen involvement in the budget process, and we could revisit some type of citizen review
Advisory.
panel during the budget process, but
So this
that's a
person,
different.
I'm sure they, but we were talking about having an outside advisory panel that could do this work. We had talked about that, and maybe that'll be the way to get everybody on board with such a thing.
Madam Chair, how about if we vetted those people?
Well, no, that's
We haven't
exactly
even
what would
discussed
happen.
about
That-
vetting them. I
So that could be part of the discussion. I do believe you should have a new, we need to have a
People with those
workshop on
backgrounds.
strategy, or strategic plan.
we talked about a workshop months ago.
You'll have new commissioners here in November? Yeah, and that should be done. But that always, I think, when Andy brought that up, we didn't get into it good enough. We should have. I think we do need some sort of advisory panel of a couple of people.
Well, that's only going to help in one facet. That's only going to help on one facet of what efficient governments or organizations look like. We're struggling.
Yeah.
We're struggling. It's
I'm
just
not
an
opposed
idea that
to it. I'm not
they all
opposed to
do
him.
it.
I don't know
Everybody
Mr.
does
Ricky
it.
though,
It's
but
just
whatever his name is.
Flagler County that doesn't do it.
I'm not opposed to it, and I think maybe Mr. Winkle and everyone on this board take what she said away. I'm just being honest. If the goal is to build better commissioners and get them the help they need, then maybe this is the avenue they need
We need a committee to decide how many paper clips to
No,
buy.
but I'm saying if we need to hire a consultant to help to bridge the gap between the commissioners and the staff, where there is some, then maybe that's what we need to do for a while with that second role.
And let's face it, I mean, not just Adam. What administrator is going to want to face a consultant? They don't.
Right.
They don't. But it's needed. The whole organization, it's needed. How can we build an expo center in 8 months, but we can't build a 2,000 square foot restaurant for a year and a half? How does that happen? I'm not going to sit here and barf out everything that has gone wrong.
Choices.
In this year.
Choices.
Maybe it is. Maybe
Only
it's,
been
maybe
choices.
it's efficiency.
It's
Maybe
choices.
it's the wrong people in the wrong places. there's a whole lot behind how an organization runs, and it's not always the almighty dollar. There's more to it than that. So, it's okay.
I don't disagree, and I don't disagree. I think however you need to get commissioners, to a comfort level and to get the information they need and to have them feel like everything's been vetted properly, then we need to get there so that the next administrator can move forward. So it's not a horrible idea. I'd suggest everybody just think about it, and maybe we talk about it when we have more time, and maybe even at commissioner comments tonight. But so don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. If there's nothing else, I got to adjourn because I got to do the special meeting. But let's bring that back up at commissioner comments. Looking for a move on adjournment.
Move we adjourn.
We had public.
I had public comment on each item. Thank you.
Yeah, you told the one gentleman, though, he could come back up
We
at the
wanted
end.
to, yes.
Would you like to come up before we adjourn,
Sir,
sir?
You had asked earlier.
Yeah, come on
You're
up.
okay? Yes, sir. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Well,
Richard.
thanks for staying. I appreciate that.
All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn on this so we can start the special meeting.
Move we adjourn.
So moved.
All right, we're adjourned. I'll go ahead and start